Boo! Haha, got him. Welcome to another Project Feline dev stream. It is the new year, new stream. Hi, everybody. Hey, look at us. We got us all in chat. Now, there's something I'm doing a little experiment this time, but I think the experiment's already failed. I'm trying to use the Streamlabs multi-stream chat so I can see Twitch chat and YouTube chat at the same time. Because I'm very sorry. I know Twitch chatters, I know you feel a bit neglected, okay? It's sorry. It's because I have to have two tabs open at once to see everybody, and there's way more people in the YouTube chat. But this multi-stream chat thing, I can only make the window like that wide, and I can't see anything. So it's showing the messages sometimes. Actually, it's not showing all the messages even, but it's so small that I can't see it. So I'm going to have to go back to just using two different tabs for the moment. But if anyone knows a better way to see two live stream chats at once, I'm all ears. So I'm just going to minimize this for the moment. Hey guys, welcome. I see you, Dodo. I see everybody. I guess you could say it's been a whole year since I've seen you last. Good one. Well, we got a lot of messages. KS says, hey Raymond, here's a reference to help your game even be more interesting. Anime toes. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I will open that and look that up. I'll write that down in my handy dandy notebook. Let me write that down. So I should ask, sorry, my manners. Where are my manners? How have you been? How have you guys been? Did you have a good holiday season? Did you have a good Christmas? Just open two chats in a split second window? You can do a split window? Is that a thing? Because I'm using Chrome. Can you make one window be split in half? Because if so, that'd be amazing. I gotta look that up now. Chrome split window? Platinum magically didn't get hungover. Oh, dude, that's fantastic. Me too. You know how I do that? There's my magic trick of not getting hungover at Christmas. You drink milk. And that only. And then you'll never get hungover. And it's a pretty cool trick. I don't tell everyone that secret, but it's been pretty helpful. Of just being sober all the time. You can't pop up with OBS? No. I don't think I can. I'll have a look. I'll see if there's some button, because it comes out on this panel, and I have no idea if there's like like you guys are over here, but because my window is minimized on my other, because I have a window manager, and when it minimizes it in the window manager, it makes it I don't know if there's a way I can pop this out and have it split or something. I don't know. There isn't a split button anywhere. And now it's just opened another window for something. So I've just got like tabs like this open. Oh wait, you guys can't see my desktop. Sorry. I just realized you guys can't see it. Oh well. But you know what I mean though. Okay, you know what I mean. All right, let me minimize you. Okay, now I've got chat. Now I've got you guys. Nearly thought I was watching a YouTube video with that intro. Well, maybe you are. How's it going in DaVinci? We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So I've got a few lists on my agenda today. Now keep in mind, because of the holiday season, things have slowed down a little. I've had to spend some time in the real world, okay? I'm sorry. So I haven't had as much time to grind on the Sigma grind set, so to speak. But I'm getting back into the swing of the Sigma grind set. The Sigma is happening. I'm Sigmaing every day. And at the moment, it's just getting plans in place to figure out how we're going to tackle 2025. I've been plotting, I've been scheming. I can't share all of them at the moment, but I got some things I've been scheming and planning. But it's mainly just been planning stuff out, trying to figure out when I want things to get finished, but just setting milestones, all that sort of stuff. It's not fun. It's like kind of boring, but it's part of the job. But there is an exciting piece of news I can share with you that I am allowed to talk about. Can I get my desktop? Yo, Jamie, can you pull up the desktop real quick? There we go. So we did celebrate a birthday over this New Year's, and that is Gabi's birthday. Now, I know it might seem crazy, but Gabi does indeed have a birthday, and it's December 23rd. And it was quite a special, particular birthday because this coming one that passed marks 15 years since I came up with the idea of Gabi in the first place. Which I know, pretty crazy. Some of you probably thinking that, oh, Ray just came up with this character for his video game. But if you've seen some of my other devlogs about character design, you'll know that a lot of them come from the depths of my childhood sketchbooks. And Gabi came from one of those sketchbooks 15 years and 1 week and something days ago. So that's been pretty cool. And yeah, it's just kind of weird because I posted this because it's like that's sort of how she used to look like back then, and this is her now in game. And she's grown up a bit. She's gotten some muscle. She's gotten more swag. She's gotten a haircut, and she's grown big and strong from all that Nutrigrain. And and I don't know, I just had a moment because when the day passed, I like to do a thing where when the day happens, I like to just sit down and kind of, in a sense, spend time with her. So I'll like draw something of her or something. So this coming birthday, I created this little preview I got a nice screenshot of her model. This is from in-game, by the way. This isn't some magic. This isn't like magic photoshopping. This is like on the right. That's just a screenshot, like an actual in-game. I gotta put like the disclaimer, in-game footage. That's what I gotta do. But that's real in-game footage. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just nice that it's like, I'm glad I didn't give up on Gabi. I could have left her in those sketchbooks and said, nah, you're not good enough. But I'm glad that we all of us are able to help bring her to the big and strong girl she is, because you guys had a big part in helping that too. You know, without your encouragement on the game, she would have stayed this childhood sketch. She would have just stayed like that, which is, I mean, it's okay, but it's not amazing. But now she's gotten big and strong. So I think, in a way, I kind of had a moment where I realized how far she'd come thanks to, well, me trying to work on it and you guys being so supportive. And I thought that was worth celebrating. So old school Gabi looks like she came out of what? Nyan Sugar Girls? I got no idea what that is. I think if you're referring to the outfit, okay, I'm just looking this up. I've got no, I mean, shut up. Okay, it does look like that. I think it's because the outfit, I was watching a lot of like Bakugan and Pokemon at the time, and I think a lot of the characters on those shows have this similar getup where it has the crop top and jeans, and I just kind of copied it from there, I think, at the time. But now, I mean, look at her now, guys, right? She's all big and strong. She's got a cool custom suit, which is even better. So, yeah. No beer. No, Gabi does not drink. That's right. She's got to have her vitality, okay? She's got to be always on the ball. Speaking of which, so after I did my little birthday celebration, I did have some time to work on another idle animation. I shared this on Twitter the other day. This is going to be an animation that plays when she idles for too long. I do have one where she looks behind her shoulder, and this will be for just, I don't know, it's like stretching, like, you know, doing some leg stretches. I don't know, this took maybe like only an hour or two to do, and I just was having some fun with it just to get me back into the swing of things. And animating this was pretty fun. I've got all the, if we slow it down frame by frame, I could point out all the cool stuff I've done. So this is like the culmination of all my Arc System Works research all combined into this, because this was actually probably the most fun animation I've ever made on her model. Because if you look around at all the stuff that's going on, we've got the secondary action in her hair, her ear and everything. It's all like moving. That isn't done with physics sim, by the way, because everyone kept telling me to do physics sim on this character. But no, this is all hand keyed. But look how cool that is, right? Like, you've got the nice, like, the hair swaying, the ear swaying, the tail moving, and it looks charming. That's the best way I can put it. Even the little, I I don't know the names of these. There's a name for these bits of hair apparently, but even those, I've got those like animated as well so that they bounce up and down. So you can see here they're sort of stretching off to the side when she moves her head this way. And yeah, this was really fun to do. But the reason I enjoyed this the most wasn't just getting to whip out all my Arc System work, research and skills, whipping all those out for this one. But part of the fun as well was, I don't know, there's something about this pose that this was like the first animation I did this year. And there's something about it that's like, this is sort of setting the tone. I'm trying to set the tone for myself for the rest of the year with this. And this is like, as far as Gabi is, as far as like her doing like these stretches, that's like, she's freaking ready, guys. Okay, she's back. She's ready. And that's sort of what I feel when I see her stretching her legs like this. So for me, it was like, that's going to be my first task of the year is putting this in. I think it's in the game as well. So if I go and idle for long enough, it should play it. If I move her up. But yeah, it's a we're so back mentality. That's Gabi's attitude, and that's going to be my attitude as well. You know, I can get kind of down sometimes making this game, but Gabi's, she's always ready. And the animation's random, so I can't control when it plays. I've got it going on like a randomized. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, look at her. She's so ready. Hell yeah. So I had a fun time doing that. Why are her legs resizing? Well, my friend, you have not researched your animation principles, it sounds like. Well, that's way too zoomed in. Hold up. So, if you study Arc System Works animations, they'll have way more stretching than this. But part of what I was trying to get through is, well, firstly, I mean, whose legs don't do that, right? Like when I stretch my legs, they resize as well. You know, that's all the blood circulating through them, surging through all the strength. That's what that is. But for Gabi in particular, it's sort of it's adding that sort of squash and stretch to it, and I've put that there so that, because if you don't have it there, it looks kind of weird. It doesn't look like she's actually stretching. It just looks like she's tweening between poses. So I've got them sort of stretching and scaling up, and again, it plays at complete random, so I can't control when she'll do the stretches in game, but I can show you in the file. But it sort of adds, I think I've just scaled them up for one keyframe here, just so that when she's fully leaning into it, because there's two keyframes where she's there and then she's leaning more, when she puts more weight on the leg compresses and the other leg actually stretches thinner. So she's actually stretching, like physically, like the rig itself is stretching. And when you take that off, it looks lifeless. So that's the thing with animation, is you have to be kind of exaggerated with it. And it also just kind of, like, even if it's not to your taste, it'll at least look funny. So, yeah, so that's, yeah. Yeah, you got the squash and stretch, that's right. Pausing and yeah. So Platinum, you'll know what I mean. I don't know. Yeah, anyone that's like paused an animation in game, you'll have seen this as well. Especially with Overwatch, they have lots of weird in between smear frames going on. Way weirder than this, actually. In fact, if this was Overwatch, and if I had this frame where she's like moving her body up, her head would be like squashed and squeezing. If this was an Overwatch character, so. This squash and stretch is actually quite conservative compared to what other games do. So, but yeah, if you want to look that up, just search like Overwatch in-betweens or something, and you'll probably see it. Thanks Denpaki, I appreciate that. But yeah, as for, because I've been doing these streams as the last few weeks as sort of just progress updates, but because it's just been like Christmas and everything, I unfortunately don't have like hours of stuff to show you this time. It's mostly in terms of what I have got now. It's just, I did her a new animation and I've done some fixing up. I think I fixed something. I can't remember what it was, but I did fix something. And oh yeah, that's right. It was the combat. I did do some fixing up on her combat because I've been getting some comments from people saying that the momentum doesn't look strong enough. So I want to I'll open the lab level. We'll crack that open, Is this the right version? Yes. I don't know why it's taken so... I guess it's got to compile shaders, because it's opening for the new year. We've got to recompile the shaders again. But I did improve her homing and combat parameters a little, and I'm trying to show it off. There's a little section up here that I should be able to show it on. So if I go over through here. So I think before, when she would attack something, she would lose a bit of that momentum and gain it back. But now it it retains itself a bit more. It's a little hard to see unless I'm going... If I go really fast, if I gain some momentum from here, you'll notice it more. Ooh. So you see how she she goes quite a bit of distance when she's rebounding now. So I've sort of just increased the... Because it's all exposed as parameters that I can modify. So I've just been doing just tweaking those a bit, just to at least do something. Because I was pretty tired, not gonna lie. After doing that devlog, I was pretty exhausted. So I thought, well, is there anything I could do that I would be willing to do in the next hour or so? So I did a bit of tweaking to her, to that, so that it flows a bit better. So in the video, in the preview gameplay I would have showed in that video, you would have seen there was a bit of what do you call it? A bit of slowdown when she would rebound, but now that's gone. So it's a bit more wild, but I think it does feel a bit more... Well, it feels less punishing. That's the word I'm looking for. So it's a small little change, but I think it'll hopefully get me less comments of people saying, "Oh, there's not enough momentum." Hopefully there is now. This to me, I think if I added more, it would be too much. So I don't want a game to be too easy. I want it to be hard. Well, not too hard, not too easy, not too hard, just the right amount. That's sort of the... Yeah. Wait for the sound effects to be added? Well, yeah, so the next oh yeah, and the FOV does speed up as well, yes, to answer that question. For the sounds, I guess that gets to my next topic, because the rest of the topics I have is all just plans. So I've been taking stock. I spent a few days in a couple days ago just to kind of plan out what the next moves are, what I have to do with everything. I guess that's my I can hide my desktop for the moment. That's sort of all the desktop stuff I gotta show. But it's at the moment, it's just been figuring out the plans for polishing that up and keeping the content train flowing. So the next devlog I'm doing is about how I came to make that model. So some of you might remember when I did that on stream last year. I think that's when I started it. I was doing I did a month of research, and then I did all this time, many weeks modeling it. And thanks so much, Chaos Smash 64 for the $2. You know what it needs? More cowbell? I concur. You're right, it does. I'm gonna have to model myself some cowbell and get it in there somehow. But thanks so much, Chaos Smash 64 for the $2. But yeah, so the plan is I need to start, because I've started working on that episode, and I've been, to answer the other question, I've been getting into DaVinci Resolve, because as I said last stream, Adobe have once again janked their prices up, punishing us creators, and I decided I'd had enough. So the stress is, how do I switch off everything Adobe before my subscription lapses? And that's not that. I think I've got a week until that happens. So I've been I'll open up my DaVinci project and I'll tell you guys the little story, the situation here with the video. Let me get me desktop back. Wherever it is. Where's my desktop? So where's my timeline? Yeah, every time I open DaVinci, the timeline hides itself. So I've started working on... I've cataloged all the footage, which, by the way, DaVinci is amazing at this thing. Okay, DaVinci is freaking good. Okay, it's freaking awesome. So on the side here, I've got... So there is a few things I'm confused by with DaVinci, but that's okay. I can accept some compromises. But someone mentioned power bins last stream, and I went down the rabbit hole on power bins. And now I've got power bins of all of my footage from the entire of the devlog series in DaVinci. And that's pretty cool because there's a lot of stuff. So I've got all my audio, I've got all my voiceovers from every episode. They're all in this big power bin called Feline, or Feline Devlog. It's all in there, and it's great. And the cool thing as well is that importing this is so fast. Like, it made me mad how fast it was, because I hadn't realized how low my standards had been set from Adobe. But I could go in, can I find footage? Because previewing footage in this is insanely good. Like, if I wanted to get footage of, like, something I filmed recently, I don't know if one of these will open. I think it's a little slow because I'm streaming and it's using CPU or something. But yeah, you can see the thumbnails are loading in. There we go. This, when I'm not streaming, it's even faster when I don't have like 10 programs open. But also Premiere, even when I just have Premiere open, is like 10 times slower than this. It's pretty brutal. So it's just so nice to have it all kind of there. So if I think if I double click on this, it should show it in this preview. There we go. And the cool thing is that I can just scrub through the preview window and it just works. Whereas with Adobe, you'll see this big thing come up with like 10 languages saying media offline, like every time I open it. Whereas DaVinci doesn't forget where I've put all my footage. So I've got the little viewport here of I think this is the source and this is the video on this side. So just importing it took literally like 10 minutes to get everything in, of just like finding the files and everything and putting them in. But because I have like probably terabytes of footage in the footage folder, and I was like, stupidly, I went, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I dragged and dropped that whole folder into DaVinci? And I did it thinking it wouldn't work, because it's like, there's no way it could import a terabyte of footage like that. But it worked. And I was like, what? Because Adobe would not handle that at all. So, dude, it was incredible. And I'm fully on board with like ditching Adobe. The only trick is that I'm not familiar with anything else about the program. I'm very charmed and enchanted by how fast it is, but I have no familiarity at all. So that's the only obstacle, is that I have no idea how to use the software the right way. So that's the only thing holding me back. What I have tried doing so far, though, is that I do have a timeline of live stream clips from when I started Gabi's model here. And if I play through that, also the fact that the entire program is running at 60 FPS is also amazing. And thanks so much, Imp, for gifting 5 memberships in YouTube chat. Thank you so much, man. It's a Christmas miracle. That is so generous of you. Hell yeah. Yeah, and you can edit pretty fast in DaVinci too. That's right, Fox8. But thanks so much, Imp. For the new members, by the way, and the subs, make sure you check out the Discord. You'll have access to my members-only chat, where I share with you my plots and my schemes for what I'm up to. But thanks so much, Imp, for gifting. Oh, and hey, Kazma, didn't see you there. I hope you're doing well too. But yeah, in DaVinci you can edit pretty fast. As well, I can't edit fast yet, but people can edit pretty fast in DaVinci. I've been watching workflow videos of people showing how they edit stuff. So this, at the moment, this is the normal editing view, but there's this other view here called the clip. I think it's called cutting. Yeah, it's called the cutting menu. And in this, it's basically designed where it'll like autofill gaps and everything. It's supposed to be like for rough cutting. So I've been trying to just get a handle for like what the different layouts do. For some reason though, this is like really far. I don't know why the audio is like minimized. It's supposed to take up more of the screen. I don't know what's going on there. But can I like reset the view? Can I reset the layout? Oh, not like that. Hold up. Hey, there we go. So, oh, it's still not okay. Well, this viewport, it's meant to be more in the middle. I don't know why it's all the way down at the bottom, but anyway, the idea is you can like quickly cut and edit stuff in this view, and then you go to this viewport to do more fine cuts. Whereas Premiere, it doesn't really have this. It's literally, was more like Premiere. So I'm kind of sticking more to this because I'm familiar with it, but when you know how to use this, I've seen what people do when they know how to use this, and it's freaking awesome. And like making cuts, it just does a lot of the stuff for you, which is really cool. The only thing is, the challenge I've been having is that when editing this video, I've been trying to get all the clips together of all the live stream stuff, of me explaining all the issues with Gabi's old model. So you can see on the screen here, I've got Gabi's shoulder topology being all screwed up. I've got the animations and everything. And I'm basically, this is from like maybe a year ago, where I'm like doing a rundown of everything wrong with the model, and then I'm showing Arc System Works ones. The thing is that I tend to ramble. So I've had to like cut a lot of the fat out. But even then, because I don't know, I'll start explaining something and then I go on a tangent, and it's been kind of difficult. So what I've been doing instead, I've sort of put this on the shelf at the moment of trying to find the clips, because I'm basically having to turn into like a professional like live stream clipper at this point for my own videos. And it's like, this is only the first stream, and this took like hours to like trim down and find. This is only the first one, and there's like 50. And I'm thinking, all right, if I want this video to come out this month, it's probably not gonna be feasible to go and clip all these streams and find, like, maybe sometimes. But I had to rethink my approach. So I've been instead starting just doing the old school tried and true of just writing the script first, because writing scripts is difficult because I always have a tough time knowing what I want to say. But I've gone back to that at the moment, and I've started writing. I don't know if I can find I might have a rough draft of it that I can just give you a glimpse of. It's pretty long, and I haven't even gotten up to like the modeling part yet. But there's so much subject matter to go through, which it's pretty overwhelming in terms of what would you say, content, like in terms of the actual content being covered. So this is like the current script I've started writing. And my plan is I'm going to just chip away at this over the next week. Just do paragraph at a time, topic at a time. And then once I know what I want to say, I'm going to have some voiceover. And then I'm going to then find live stream clips to use as B-roll. But I'm going to start with the script first, I think. Because if I go and try and find the clips, I'm going to get too lost in trying to find what clip to use. So I want to have a structure first. The thing is, though, is that this is literally just getting up to starting the model, and it's pretty long already because there's just so much to go through. So I'm trying to walk people through like my thought process, because I know if I make this video, there's going to be heaps of people thinking, why on earth is he doing the model again? And I've tried to put into words all my reasoning, because I think the reasoning's pretty interesting, because it solves, as well, now that you guys can see the result, it'll make sense. But in the video, that the people that aren't following the streams, they're not going to know the result yet. They're just going to think, what is he doing? So here is sort of like the rationale of all of the problems that the audience has already noticed and how this thing solves it. Because that's how I like to think. I don't want it to just be like a Blender tutorial, because like everyone makes that stuff. I want it to be a very like a story of like how I went from Gabi's old model to the new one. But this is going to be part one. So the idea is that this video is just going to be the modeling and the texturing, because that's already a lot. It'll probably be like 20 to 30 minutes worth of just the modeling and texturing. And then I've got part two, which I'll start working on next. And that's going to cover all the animation. And the animation I have a lot to say about. So all of the research we did on gymnasts and Sporticus and everything, that's going to be for the animation one. But at the moment, I want to just have the video just on like the modeling stuff, because that's where most of the research I did is. That's where, that's where most of the magic tricks is in the modeling, and then it pays off in the animation. So that's sort of the plan there. But it's just intensive, because I got to because this was all taking place over a while, so I have to just retrace my steps and remember things and put myself in my shoes a year ago and when I started working on it. So, to take the audience on a journey. So it's just getting into the mindset while also trying to get work done on the game at the same time. Oh, hey Bergman, good to see you. Sorry, Queen, I didn't see your message there. Doing all right. Hope you had a good holiday. Well, yeah, it was all right. I tried to have a holiday. I can't help but work, but I tried to. Can also vouch for my lack of desire to use Adobe products. Yeah, I'm hating it more now that I've used a DaVinci a little and I've just imported footage. I'm starting to hate Adobe more and more. If you know what I mean. It's just, oh, it's pretty crazy. What are we doing today, Cripps? Well, I'm just showing what I'm just showing like bits. You've come a bit late, my friend, but I showed off some animations I was doing. These are kind of more because we started doing this at the end of last year, where I would do these streams as just sort of check-ins, kind of like stand-up meetings. Because I don't know, like maybe you guys can vouch your opinion in here, because I always find it difficult to do work and stream at the same time, because game dev is just demanding, very cognitively demanding. So for me, it's always about like, you know, I when I'm working, and when I'm chatting, that's how my brain works. So with these, I try to do all my work throughout the week, and at the end of the week, I just, hey, this is what I did. And then I can actually pay attention to chat and be more interactive. Because I think the problem we had when I was trying to do the streams last year was that, because I would be there working, but I would like, all of you would get so annoyed because I'd be so focused. I remember I got a message, there was like one chat message I remember seeing, and it's like this whole chain of like, Raymond, stop grinding, stop being on the grind. And I thought that was so funny, because it's like, because streaming is just kind of weird like that, because it doesn't incentivize focus, and I need to be focused if I'm working. So we're trying these out. This is the third one I think we've done since the end of last year, of just the check-in format, and a lot of you guys seem to enjoy them. So that's why I want to see if we can keep the habit up throughout the year. Speaking of which, that reminds me, there is another topic on the agenda that I want to run past you guys. I'm going to need your help with. So when on the Discord, which, yes, by the way, there is a Discord. I think if you type in ! Discord in chat, it'll give you the link to it. We had some interaction on the Discord over the Christmas break, and someone had the idea, because full disclosure, I'm not a massive Discorder user. I have the server, but I don't spend a lot of time on it. But I know for a lot of you guys that love Discord, you like having your emotes and your stickers. I only just learnt what stickers were like last week, by the way. But I know that you Discorders, you guys love them. The thing is, a lot of you are asking, can we get Project Feline Discord stickers or more emotes? And the thing is, that'd be really cool. But also, I just don't have time to work on like custom emotes and stickers. So what I was thinking we could do, and you guys can help gauge if this is a good idea. What I was thinking what we could do is maybe some kind of community contest or something like that, where people, like fans of the game, can like make their own Discord stickers or emotes of Gabi, and we could like make those the official ones in the server. The thing is, I have no idea how to run a contest. I am not a professional community manager. I've got a community, and that I'm very thankful that I have one, but I've got no idea how to manage one. I'm too busy managing the game. So you guys can tell me if that is like if that's something we can, I don't know, because I don't know how contests work. I don't know how to, if there's like any weird legal red tape you've got to do, because I know for some types of contests you have to like, there was some contest I was looking at for a game a few weeks ago as like to research what I might be in for doing a contest, and they had all of this fine print legal stuff on it, and I'm like, please God, let it not be one of those things where I have to get a lawyer to look through things. I hope it isn't that complicated. I think if money is involved, that's where it becomes complicated. So I was thinking we don't do that. It's just going to be like community, no profit, no money or anything, just for the love of the game. That'll be the less complicated way to do it. Something super casual, yeah. Thanks so much, Snubbill, by the way, for gifting 1 sub to... YouTube calls them memberships, but I'm calling them subs. Thanks so much, Snubbill, for gifting. For some reason, that's meant to play a sound effect, isn't it? I didn't hear a sound effect. Did you guys hear it? You guys let me know in chat if you heard the sound effect play. I don't think I'll have to like fix it. Because also this morning I was fixing a lot of the Streamlabs stuff so that the audio would be better, but it looks like I've missed something. It did play a sound? Okay, great. I didn't hear it. Why didn't I hear it? That's so weird. I heard all the other sounds, but not that one. But anyway, yeah, with the contest, thanks so much, Nutbill, champion. But yeah, so maybe you guys can message me on Discord about it off stream, because I got to get back to work soon on like doing stuff on the game. But you guys can tell me what the approach I think we should take. I'm thinking maybe I'd imagine like settings like a date of like maybe end of January, and maybe we just have a text channel where people post like GIFs or images, and then whatever gets like the most emotes, like, because in Discord you can leave emote reactions, maybe whatever gets the most, like the top 5, because I think there's a limited amount of slots. I think there's like 10 or 15 slots of stickers you can have, so maybe the top 15 those will make it in or something. Maybe something like that. But I don't know. I'm not too familiar with the inner workings of Discord, so I'll need a bit of guidance on sort of how people want to do that. But I thought the idea was really cool, and I didn't just want to shut it down. So I might not know how to run a contest, but we're gonna try. We're gonna try something because I do it for you guys. Okay, I do it for the fans. Got to do it. I don't want to leave you guys starving. So yeah, you can guys let me know on the Discord about how we can proceed with that and what we might be in for. I think there are some emotes there currently, but they're pretty old. So if someone wants to take it upon themselves as well to even do their version of emotes that are already there, I reckon that's fine as well. Accept them privately, post them in a batch. Oh, yeah, that might be a better idea actually. It'd be a bit easier to manage. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to come up with an approach. It's just been kind of tricky because I've been planning out all the other actual game work, because I'm gonna try and see if we can get this contest out of the way January, just so that we don't have to like have this looming over for a while. I reckon I want to get it out of the way then. You don't have an immediacy bias? Oh, good idea actually. Yeah. That is a thing. That is true. Kazma says, I'm pretty sure contests involving monetary prizes are where the line seems to be. Yeah, I think so. If you just run an open submissions poll, you should be fine. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, maybe it isn't that complicated after all. Because I'm always worried about this stuff, because every time I try to do something, it's always more complicated than I think it is. Every time. So I hope this is like one of those things that is like not that. It shouldn't be that hard, I'd hope. But yeah. But I do appreciate the enthusiasm for it though. That's really cool, and it would certainly make my day brighter having nice Gabi emotes everywhere. Or I think they're stickers and then there's emotes. I think those are two separate things in Discord. But either one, it'll be great, because I think at the moment everyone's just using the default stickers, which default, can't have that. But yeah, anyway, in terms of stuff I have to show, that's kind of everything on my agenda really. I think that's everything on my list. So yeah, it's just there's been a lot of stuff planning, but I can't show it. I hate having to do that. I hate being able to not share my plans, but sometimes discretion is good. So I've anything, if this looks like a mediocre week where it's like, oh, he only did one animation, trust me guys, there's stuff cooking. I just can't show all of it right now. But in time we'll see. It'll become the plan will reveal itself. I guess I can give you an insight into what I want to do with the game in the immediate future. A lot of the plans have been converging onto getting the demo finished and getting funding, because those have been the two biggest challenges for the last year now, and there's been a lot of setbacks. But I'm very optimistic about this year, because I'm not going to do anything stupid this time. I'm not gonna just magically think that other people will fix it. I'm going to take full accountability over everything. I'm not going to hire anybody. We're not going to make any more mistakes like that, like last year. It's all going to be on me. So, and I like it that way, because then if anything if anything bad happens, then I know absolutely whose fault it is. And I like that kind of certainty. So I've been locking in, I've been planning and scheming. And we're gonna try out some stuff. I have a good feeling it will hopefully work this time. We're gonna be avoiding the government. We're gonna be avoiding all the catastrophes this time. You know, it's like a video game, right? Making Project Feline has felt a lot like a video game in the sense that it's like trying to beat the level. Whenever I play a game, it usually takes me a few goes to get the S rank. And what I'm hoping is that this will be the year where I can get the S rank on something, and it'll be great, I think. I think I've gotten the S rank on the model. I reckon that's pretty alright, but we got to get the S rank for everything. But Platinum says I should open UE5 again. Well, maybe. Or even better, here's a suggestion. You should open UE4. Whoa. I know that sounds pretty crazy. There was I guess we can shift topic a little. I've got like another 30 minutes on my timer here until I got to get back to it. So we can chat a little bit about just game dev stuff in general. I know there's probably some devs in chat as well. So maybe, because you guys are probably all scheming too. If you're all game devs, you're all scheming as well. Figure out how you're going to tackle the new year. Oh, thanks, Gorka Games. It's looking insane. Thanks so much. But, yeah, the S plus rank. That's right. We got to get the S plus, the triple S rank. That's what I'm trying to get. And to give you an idea on what I want to do personally, this is just my goals. I can't be too specific, but my goal is to sort those things out, for the demo to be done, and to figure out how I can fund the game without having to sell the IP, or without having to put myself in a position where I'm being compromised by some third party. And I've been doing a lot of research on stuff. I've been trying to find strategies of how to do it. Your support, by the way, has been super helpful. That's sort of what's kept me going at the moment. Just the people buying the merch and subbing and all of that stuff. It's been a huge help. The patrons in particular have been coming in clutch every time, funding the YouTube channel, so I can keep that going. But because we don't have because all the budget I did have is now gone as of that last video. So that if I can get a budget again, I'll know what not to do with it, which is good. And that's to not give it to a 15-year industry veteran. So I'm not going to do that next time. I'm going to use it a lot more smartly. But it's just a matter of finding the opportunities, because they're not what they used to be. The mega grants thing is gone now. I think it's still technically there, but I've not heard of a single successful applicant in the last year. And the Mega Grants Discord server, which is a thing, there's an official Mega Grants Discord server, and it's dead completely. I think it's because the guys in charge of the Mega Grants got fired. I think they got laid off with the big Epic layoff. So I think because Epic have been all involved with laying off like 20% of their company and this lawsuit they have with Apple, and I guess, do they have a lawsuit with Valve too right now? I don't know. I've been loosely hearing things. I haven't been following it too closely. But that would explain, if your plan, if any of you devs in chat are thinking to do a mega grant, I'm going to tell you maybe don't do that, because it just seems like to me that that's over, considering Epic's current position. I don't think they're going to be doing any more mega grants in the near future, unless it's some kind of UEFN Fortnite thing. That's I've been looking at the mega grants Discord, and it's literally all just Fortnite stuff now, and film, which is not us. So I would say don't do that. I got pretty lucky that first time, not gonna lie. I got very lucky, but that was a while ago, and I don't think it's the same. Which is it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, that could be a nice idea to sell and have your IP. Well, I'm always very careful with IP stuff. IP stuff is tricky. My ethos is to keep it as much as you can, because I've never heard a good story happen of someone selling it. Even George Lucas, I know he became a billionaire by selling his IP, but was it worth it? That's the question you gotta ask. Epic has fallen, billions must cry. True. But yeah, DAC says, I'm also a dev and I'm learning how to use Unreal. Do I have any tips? I don't know, honestly. Everyone kind of learns it differently. I would say don't. I would say just learn it your way, and don't get in tutorial hell. Don't do something like don't feel like you have to find the perfect Unreal tutorial series that's going to teach you, like, shortcut you to being the master programmer. It doesn't exist. There's no such tutorial. Just have an actual project you have. Don't start with just I want to learn the engine. Start with I want to make this thing, and then figure out how to get the engine to bend to your will. That's how I started Feline. I didn't start Feline by learning the engine. I started by, I want to make this. This is now my reason to learn the engine. And I haven't learnt the engine, by the way. I've learnt bits of the engine as I've needed them, but I haven't learnt the whole engine. I don't think it's even possible for someone to learn the whole engine, because even the devs, from what I've heard, like the Epic devs, don't know the whole engine, because all of them will only work on one piece of it. There is no single person at Epic that knows the whole thing. So you don't have to know the whole thing either. You just need to know what you need to know on a need-to-know basis to make your thing. So if you're doing your prototype, you just need to know enough to make that prototype. You don't need to worry about, I don't know what, because there's so many rabbit holes of Unreal. There's lots of systems. Just focus on the immediate. What do I need to know now? And then if you do that long enough, you'll get a sense for, like, you'll start to then, as you need, on a need to know basis, you'll start to learn things as you need to learn them. That's the general approach I would recommend all the time for learning anything, because it's too overwhelming. I think it's just too much. It's too overwhelming to try to learn everything. Like, because I've had people that have gone, oh, you should like learn C++ first and then make a game. And maybe for some people, I think for very, very, very exceptionally prudent people, that will work. But that is not most of us. I think it needs to be, at least for me, I have to do something with what I'm learning. I can't just learn stuff for no reason. So for me, it's very important that I'm applying what I'm learning immediately. That's my style. That might not be you, but that is me, and that's how I do things. So that's what I would recommend. Quasmus says, yeah, no, given the state of the industry, it's unrealistically difficult to acquire monetary support. Yeah. Yes. Well, yeah, because there's someone I knew recently works at, she was working on that game X Defiant, and she's like jobless now. Like that whole studio, Ubisoft Osaka, is just gone. Just gone completely. So yeah, it seems like everyone's sort of having a rough time, it would seem. Array manipulation. Oh dear. I've had a bit of issues with array manipulation too. How do I pronounce that? Caius says, learn actor tags and map variables. I think I have heard of those both, but I haven't needed to use them a lot. I don't know, maybe I should take his advice. Maybe I'm missing out on something with actor tags and map variables. K1 says, I love that game. It had so much potential. Because I didn't really hear much. I only knew about it because my friend worked on it, but I have no really idea about the game. But yeah, it's pretty brutal out there. So with that said, I appreciate so much the generous support you guys have bestowed on me, so I can keep trying to make my game. It really does mean a lot, because it is freaking hard. Okay, it's difficult to do anything, so I do appreciate it. Rimulic says, it's still sad you got screwed over by that one guy. Yeah, I mean, I've had some time to think more about that. And you know what? Maybe I'll end the stream on this topic, because I've seen some of you in chat here say that you watched my previous video, that the last devlog I did. It was a pretty substantial one. It probably took the longest to make. And I've collected. I've been observing over the Christmas break. I was just observing, reflecting, seeing if there's like more to that I could share. Because the thing is, there's a lot of details I had to leave out for like personal reasons. So thanks for the hydrate. So I couldn't share every little bit of detail to it, but there's a lot of context that isn't there that I want to be able to share, but I don't want to like out this person, because it isn't really about, it's not about the individual necessarily, it's about the attitude. Like the enemy is not, it's not that specific contractor, it's anyone that has that mindset of, you know, she'll be right, it's it's good enough, that kind of mentality. That's the real enemy to me. It's the unwashed bowl mentality. And I've observing the reaction to the video. Firstly, it's been overwhelmingly pretty good, and I want to thank you guys for that. It was really hard to put all that into words, but I've noticed that video has attracted a lot of industry folk. And again, it's always hard to tell because they're all anonymous and you can't actually look up what games they've done. So you never know if you're actually talking to a real person. But the main counter argument I've seen people try to make to my attitude on it is that the entire situation is my fault because I didn't like micromanage the person and check on everything. And to that, I've been thinking about that as an idea, because yeah, that's probably right. I should have been checking on things more, and I didn't think I would need to, and that was a pretty painful moment where I was like realizing how bad it had come out. And I thought, because I had the urge where I was like, I should be checking on this, but I think there's a line that a lot of people missed where I said that I deliberately took a hands-off approach, because when I have tried doing that before, I get so much backlash when I try to assert myself. I'll get people telling me that, Ray, you're being like autistic and difficult, shut up. So I was like, okay, because I get told as well, like if I'm unlikable, then no one will ever want to work with me. So I took that to heart from my previous experiences and went, all right, they're the expert, I'm going to let them do their thing, I'm going to stay out of their way. And well, you can see that maybe that isn't the best strategy either after what happened. So what I did realize though, I think this is a conclusion a lot of people missed. And I think the reaction made me aware of it, because I didn't even know this was a thing until I started seeing other people's opinions on it. And it seems to me that there is a massive chasm in attitude. Like there's a huge difference in attitude between indie and AAA. And it seems to me like the people that are trying to dunk on me that are AAA, they will probably not get the video because they have their entire life wrangled for them. They have a boss that tells them what to do. They have, you know, their entire schedule and what they focus on is dictated by somebody else. And I don't think those people will understand the whole monk washing the bowl mentality, because they don't have to do it, because in their situation, their boss will do it. So I don't expect them to get it. And I think the reason they're upset is because they're assuming that everyone has that attitude. And I guess for the most part, people would, that are working in like as a specialist, they probably do have that attitude. That's probably the industry norm, which is probably why a lot of games suck now, because I mean, you can tell, right? It kind of feels like a game is made by just a bunch of worker ants and not a bunch of people that are paying attention to something. And that's the main thing I'm trying to get across with it. It's like, you want to be paying attention to what you're doing so that you don't have to be micromanaged. That's sort of that's my stance personally. The thing is that probably doesn't work in AAA because of all the overhead. And that doesn't need to work in AAA because they have all the overhead. That's sort of the system. I think it's just because the main point of the episode is to tell people why just hiring more people is actually not that easy. And I think the reason is because ultimately you need, if you want to hire even just one person, you've got to have like overhead in place and systems in place, and you have to basically train them for a year before they become useful. And I'm not making up that number. There was a lot of comments saying that, oh, when I mentored people, it took them a year to be useful. And I'm thinking, that's great, but I don't have a year to train somebody. I have to do my own stuff as well. So I think the ultimate takeaway is that for an indie, that kind of isn't an available, like that you can't really do that because you don't have, I don't have like an entire company payroll. I don't have a HR department. I don't have you know, Scrum masters. I don't have any of that. And for that reason, that's why just hiring more devs is not viable in that case, unless you have all that overhead. But that's not most indies. So what I've been trying to advocate for in mine is, in my video, is the indie attitude, where if you're not that guy that has like $1 million and an entire, you know, all that company overhead, if you're not that guy, then maybe doing it all yourself is more viable, because you can only really control yourself. And if you don't have overhead, there is way less overhead in managing yourself efficiently than trying to manage a group of other people. So that's sort of the mentality that I prefer, which is why I think, in my case specifically, solo dev is the right option. But that is not going to be most people, I don't think. I think for most people that are company people, they're not even in that world, because they have like their boss, their lead. That's what they call them, right? They got their lead that's going to tell them what to do. And that attitude is you're not going to need that level of self-control for something like that. So that's probably why I think a lot of people didn't get it, but that's fine. Oh, are we debating TAA in chat right now? Aren't they quadruple A? I mean, I don't know, man. K1 says they despise AAA. I mean, like, I personally don't like it. I don't want to work in AAA in particular, but I can respect it. But it doesn't mean I have to like it. I can respect it, though, because, you know, I know a few people that work in AAA. It's not for everyone. It's like a hard... I think... I don't know. It's a different world. It's kind of like... It's I think AAA... A lot of people have the wrong attitude on how to judge AAA. Because I think, as gamers, we judge it as the best of the best, of like the most passionate of the most passionate people. But that's not what it is. It's just a job. And I think the name AAA is a bit misleading, probably, in that regard, because AAA, that's like a, what is that? People mean it in the sense of like, this is like a AAA ranked game or something like that. And I think what they mean by AAA is actually just, this is the factory. Like, this is a game from a factory, whereas an indie is a game from a person. That's sort of the way, or a small group. It's not like systematized as a factory would be. So I don't know. Maybe the terminology needs to change, because it is a little misleading. Because I think there are absolutely indie games that are AAA quality. I think those do exist. And I know people like to get bent over backwards over the definition of indie or what's really indie. I don't really care personally, but I think it's sorry, I'm really thirsty. Let me have a drink. Queen says the AAA moniker is based on monetary input. Actually, yeah, when you look at it that way, it makes more sense. I think it's just most gamers don't know that that's what it comes from, because it's an investing term, isn't it? Because in terms of monetary input, it absolutely is AAA. And in terms of investment, it's probably the safest thing. Well, maybe not, considering that they're all shutting down, but you know what I mean. Like, you'd have reasonably more trust in a studio than some guy, which I think is sensible. But it's I don't know. The definitions, it doesn't really matter. But I think we all know what we all mean by those things. With you know, but it's as I was saying, yeah. So I think the video I did to wrap up my thoughts on that, so that, I don't know, you guys might find it helpful. I think the key difference I've noticed is that, well, the thing I personally don't like is how everyone seems to think that the AAA is the only way to do something. That's kind of what I took a big issue with, and that was sort of my part in that devlog. The big moment was realizing that, oh, I can, because every time I have tried to do it the traditional way, it's never worked. It just doesn't work, because it's like I'm like a square peg in a round hole type thing in that situation. So the main thing, my takeaway was doing it my way, as I said at the end of the video. And my way is like just hyper individualism, self-discipline, and it works for me. I know it's like not going to be something everyone agrees with, but I think what I want it to be for is a beacon for other people out there that are a bit like me in that sense. And this is not going to be everybody, but if you're an indie in chat right now and you kind of relate to my frustrations with that video, then maybe you're one of those guys that prefers the torture of having everything be your fault and having to do everything than the torture of having to be the overhead that manages everybody else, because that is a whole different skill. Like being the scrum master, that is a completely different world than what I do day to day. What I do day to day is I open Unreal, I open Blender, I give my computer instructions with my keyboard and mouse, and it's very clinical. It's very unemotional, and it's very quiet, and I like that. But I think for most people, that is going to be torture because they don't get to talk to anybody, and it's lonely. And in that regard, I totally understand kind of where AAAs are coming from. I think for most of those people, they want to, their vision for their life is they want to have a job they go to, and they want to be surrounded by a community and family. And I use that word loosely. They'll have their own family, but because I know a lot of people don't like the whole my job is my family attitude, but I think passionate devs do on some level want that. I think if you look at any old documentary of like old Bungie or old Bethesda, they with pride will say coming to work, it's like we're a family here. Like they say it back when that was a good thing. It might not be as good anymore. A lot of people are cynical about that now, but 20 years ago I think people wanted that more. But I think for people that want that, the message of my video is probably not going to resonate, which is fine. But I think what I want to speak to is the people that don't really care about the social aspect of it. They don't want to, they would rather like take it on themselves and suffer alone. Because for some people it's preferable. And if you're I'm like that, and if you're like that, then you got to wash the bowl. You got to full 100% pay attention to everything, be super disciplined, sweat the small stuff, and just be consistent. And don't, because your manager is not going to save you. If you're a solo dev, you're not going to have a lead telling you what to do. So it's so I think that's probably what I learned. That's the bit of insight I gained after the video came out, what I found. So I guess that's sort of like a bit of nuance there to my conclusion in the video. Yuko says, trust is my biggest issue. I'd rather do things myself. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my case as well. And I've been trying to think more about that. Because I believe me, man, I want to be one of those guys that can trust people. That's what I was trying to be in that video. I was very, very trusting. Because I had faith. But I think there are certain kinds of people that are more... what's the word? I don't want to say extroverted because it isn't quite the right word, but it's people that are more community oriented, that are more part of a team, that attitude. I think people that are like that can more easily trust, and I don't know, because I'm not them, so I don't really get it. But from our point of view of the solo dev person, I think the trust comes from it not being done the way you want. And then part of the issue is knowing how to effectively communicate what you want to somebody else. And I found, at least in my case, I've always had a tough time with that. And no amount of effort I've put in has helped. It's not improved it. So I think, and the conclusion I ultimately came to was I could have just done this. So that's how I want to do it. But that's not going to be everybody. But I think I think the thing is, though, is that the other way is also not everybody, and you gotta find the way that works for you. And I think the thing I'm kind of tired of hearing is that it's impossible to do it yourself, because I think it is not preferable for the majority of people, but I think there are a minority of people where that is preferable, and they would actually rather do it like that. And that's kind of where I learned that that's me from that video. And I'm tired of pretending that it's not, So yeah. Anyway, Does Valve take a cut from the game publishers? I think the way that the revenue model works is that Valve will take their revenue percentage cut, then the publisher take the remaining. If you have a publisher that it has the remaining, they have the remaining, and then they then cut you in after that. So I think the money, it all goes through the publisher usually, but Valve will always take their platform fees first. So the publisher never sees that 30%. It's always to Valve. At least that's how I'm told it works. Lie on Leon says, oh, sorry, there's a few other messages I'll read first before. I don't want to miss out anybody. Chaos Smash says, when they say nowadays about being in a family, it sounds cultish. I mean, yeah, that's the thing, because, you know, that it does. And I don't think it always did sound cultish. I think there was a period where people genuinely wanted, because you're going to be spending, if you're a studio man, you're going to be spending most of your time with your studio. You're going to be spending like nights and weekends at that studio. You might as well like the people there. That's sort of my attitude. The thing is that I don't have any confidence I will like anyone there, so I try to avoid that. But if you're the guy that wants to be part of a bigger thing, I think who would want to work at a studio where they hate everybody? I think that people do have an intrinsic need to want to at least get on with the people they have to spend most of their time around. I just think culture at studios has just changed a lot since what we saw in like the early 2000s. I don't know, there was something more unifying and more cohesive about studios from back then, because if they told you it was like the work is the family, you wouldn't feel skeptical. It wouldn't feel cultish then, because the results spoke, because these were the guys that made like Halo and like Morrowind. Like if those guys, if they had that family connection, that sense of community with their team, I don't see a problem with that at all, because it's like, well, if that's the level they needed to make Morrowind, then that's awesome. And if they all liked it, if they all, well, not liked it, but if they could all tolerate it and it was worth it, then I think that's cool. But I just think nowadays, I don't know, there's I think people don't really get on. I don't think people get on as well as they used to back then. But Leon says the other problem is that you have the passion in the game to do your best to make it the best. When hiring someone, it's just another job. Well, that's the thing, is that is usually the case. However, what I didn't tell people in my video is that I didn't hire some random freelancer on Fiverr. I was very careful about who I hired. I hired somebody I had known for a long time that had mentored me through parts of Unreal before. That personal, like we had a personal connection as well. But I didn't want to make the video all about that, because it's not that relevant. But it wasn't just some random, like this person I was reasonably sure was also as passionate about it, because, you know, they'd always ask me about it in their downtime. They'd like suggest ideas every so often, and they, for all the signals I could tell, they seemed, what's the word? They seemed like emotionally invested in like it working. But I guess I was wrong about that as well, because I don't think anyone that cares is going around new function zeroing things and unnaming stuff, you know? So it's, yeah. 15 years of experience. Yeah, well, 15 years of experience, I used to kind of think that was a good thing, but it means that, because I guess when I think about it more, that can mean 15 years of experience can be very misleading, because it could be 15 years, or it could just be 1 year of experience repeated 15 times. And I'm thinking I can more clearly see which it is. Hope the video didn't burn that bridge. I mean, it's probably, I think that bridge was already burnt. I think by them cutting contact, they burnt that bridge, in my view. And I know that was like some people have said that, yeah, oh, well, you know, they have no obligation, and that's true. They don't technically have one. But what I didn't mention was that verbally they had told, because we would call very frequently, and they verbally promised, they said, hey man, like if you need help with these tools, just give me a call. So the thing is, it's not fair to hold them to that though, to be fair, because it's a verbal agreement. There's no actual legal agreement that stipulates they have to do that. But I think to verbally say it and then to not uphold it, it kind of gives you an insight into their inner character. Like, are they a man of their word or are they not? And whether that's a fair standard to judge people on is, I guess, up to you. Me personally, I'm a big stickler for procedure and written word, so I don't really hold it to them that much that they left. I can't, because if it was me, and if I felt I was being like done that way, maybe I would have done the same. But at the same time, I would have not left my stuff unnamed, and I would not have given them a reason to want to contact me again in the first place. So it's I don't know, I don't really blame them for it, but it is disappointing. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. My 15 years of experience writing fiction shouldn't get me published yet. Not to knock myself, but I'm not right. I mean, yeah, hell, look at Gabi, right? Like, as I said at the start of the stream, you know, I came up with her 15 years ago. So could you say that I have 15 years experience in character design? No, because it's like I was a literal child when I came up with that. So I don't know, maybe the contract, I don't know, maybe he's counting like when he was 11 or something as experience. Who knows, right? Who knows? For me personally, it's always, because people will ask me how much years of experience I have, and I honestly don't know how to answer it, because I think quantifying years of experience is not like straightforward. You can't just say you oh, I have 10 years. Like that can really mean nothing sometimes. So the thing is though, is that how do you judge someone? If you can't judge them on their year of experience, what can you judge them on? And I don't know the answer to that. But I know now that it is absolutely not years of experience. So yeah. But sorry, there's just a lot of messages coming in. I've certainly seen growth. I mean, thanks Platinum. I try. That's, I guess, I think comparing yourself to what you were like is probably a good... I don't know how you can judge that in somebody else, but if you ever need to judge yourself, that is, I think, the only reasonable standard. I agree. It's just like, am I better than last time? And if so, then you're good. And if you're not, then you got to do something. Or their code. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is trying to get a handle on people's code beforehand. But yeah, but I don't think I'm not going to try doing that route again. It's just too much of a hassle. It's too complicated. It's just quick. In my case, it's faster to just do it, like the way I want. Billy says I have over 10 years programming experience, but technically I have 6 months professionally. I mean, yeah, that's kind of... Because I think when you do it professionally, it's like those months of professional work are completely different to 10 years of casual work. I think that's absolutely true. But yeah, I guess 6 months would understate it as well. Yeah, it's tricky. It's a hard thing to quantify. I guess the closest thing I could think is maybe like the results. Like, but that can be misleading as well, because this person's portfolio looked really cool, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's good. So that's I don't know, that's a really tricky philosophical conundrum there, isn't it? Did I redo everything? Oh yeah, I sure did. Well, here's the good thing. Here's a good part of coming out of that, is that with some of the stuff, because I showed some of you guys this last stream with Trench Broom and all the new mapping tools I was learning. So the good news is that I did have to redo everything, but a lot of the stuff that was done with the spaghetti code and everything, or the procedural level tools, because all the spaghetti code I showed is all like procedural generating tools. It's like generating crates in a crate tower. And thanks so much, Yurozu, for gifting 5 subs to the community. Thanks so much, man. You just made my day. Thanks, dude. Thanks so much. All the new members, make sure you join the Discord. You'll have access to the exclusive subscriber chat now. Thanks so much, Yurizu. You're a legend. But as I was saying, yeah, Trench Broom is amazing. And all the procedural code and tools. Here's the cool bit. This is I don't think I didn't make this obvious when I showed off Trench Broom last time. The cool part is, because I'm using Trench Broom now, all of that work can be thrown out. I don't even need to refactor it. That's how good of a solution I found. I found the most ultimate solution where I don't even need all that junk anyway. And that was really satisfying. Whoa, what's this? We got a hype train going in Twitch chat. New record, level 2. Thank you so much. Thanks Bloodham for subscribing with Prime. Sorry I missed some of those. Hell yeah, we got hype. Can I type hype in chat? Hell yeah. Thanks so much, Twitch chat. You're a legend. It's got just confetti all over the screen. Sorry, I've never seen this before. It's just crazy. Hell yeah. Sub goal met. Oh, that's what that's from. Oh my good. Okay, we met the sub goal. That's what it's doing. Thank you so much, guys. You're a legendary. Well, hey, thanks to you guys, I can keep plugging away and doing these streams. So I appreciate that so much. I mean, ultimately, I consider myself very lucky that you guys are there for me, because yeah, making indie games is hard. Thanks so much. Lion and Bloodham for subscribing. Sorry, I'm just making sure I get all your names. And Yuruzu for gifting. Thanks so much, guys. What was I talking about? I can't remember now. I'm too happy with all the subs. Oh yeah, refactoring. That's right. Yeah, so with all the Trench Broom stuff, because a lot of the tools were procedural generation, like, you know, generating buildings and crates and splines, because Trench Broom's meshing tools out of the box are just so good, I don't need any of the other stuff. It's all obsolete. Because I did try refactor. Oh, actually, there's. I found this out after I released the video. I haven't told you guys about this yet, because I did try to refactor the splines, and I haven't told you guys what happened when I tried doing that. I tried to refactor the spline tool so that it was better and it was consolidated. Because if you guys saw in the devlog, there was like, 5 different spline tools. And they all like were copy pasted from each other and had different code. So my thing was, I'm going to make the ultimate spline tool that I can just use everywhere, that I'm going to use for grind rails and meshes and everything. The thing is that it's actually quite difficult to make a good spline tool. It's quite complicated. There's actually a lot that can go wrong. And there's a lot of variables. And there's a lot of weird maths with splines. So even my spline tool for the grind rails is a bit broken. If you try to do like an upside down loop, it completely breaks. So there's one solution, which is to just not use it in ways that will break it ever. Or the second solution is to just get good and make a better spline tool. So my goal was I was going to refactor it all. And after spending about 2 days on it, I realized that this is a big task. It's actually quite difficult. And I started by trying to find a tutorial, because I thought, well, maybe I'm taking the wrong approach. And, real quick, how do I get into the supporter stuff on Discord? Make sure that your Twitch and Discord account are linked, and then join the Discord server, and it should automatically grant you the tier Twitch subscriber role, which should give you access to those channels. Try that out. If that doesn't work, I'll get back to you in a minute, and we'll see. But you got to make sure the accounts are linked. But yeah, so I tried to look at a tutorial on how to make a good spline. And the first result on Google I found, I looked at, and I was looking at how they were drawing the nodes, and I noticed that the way they were drawing the nodes looked awfully familiar. And I'm looking at, I don't know if I can get it open. I don't know if there's like if you search like Unreal Spline tutorial, it'll probably come up. Let's try searching it. There's like a few different videos, and the specific one, it had like the video thumbnail, it had traffic lights and electricity poles in the thumbnail. I'm gonna see if I can find it. It used to be the first result, but now people are making more videos. Oh, let me say UE4 spline tutorial. Maybe that's what I gotta look up instead of UE5. Oh, it's not coming up anymore. Spline tool tutorial. Oh, Google search is not what it used to be. Well, anyway, it was this video that had like, maybe it was this one. I don't know. I don't know if I have the exact one. It doesn't matter. It was like the first Google result. I'm following it. I'm noticing the nodes look familiar. I open the contractor's spaghetti code spline tool, and I notice it is verbatim the exact same as the tutorial. And I don't just mean that they followed the tutorial. I mean the node placement was exactly the same as the tutorial. And I look in the link in the description of the video and see a download link to the spline, UE4spline.zip or something like that. And I download them because I'm thinking, well, if I want to make my own, I'll start from theirs and see. I want to import it just to see if this is the same. I try to import this tutorial's downloaded spline tools into Project Feline, and it says it's already there. So, for those that haven't caught on, what that means is that they didn't even write their own spline tool that I paid them for. They just downloaded the first Google result, put it in, copy-pasted it a few times, and that's it. And I know it's the same because the comment bubbles and everything was in the exact same position, and the file names were just the exact same as from the tutorial. And so there's that. And I didn't find that out. That would have been a great zinger in the video, but I didn't find that out until later. And then I think because there was a chair that I showed off as well. There was a little like sci-fi chair in the main menu. I called it Felix's chair because it was for Felix's hideout where he sits down. I'll get my desktop back open real quick so you guys can see the chair, because then I started. This is sort of like the double epilogue to that video because I ended up finding out a lot more stuff. If I search sci-fi chair, I don't know if it's going to come up. It was like a turbo squid model, but basically Felix's chair was also not an original model. It was just some such turbo squid. Because I showed it in the video and the chair's topology is whack. It looked like this. You guys might recognize from the video. It didn't look exactly like this. There is another chair. I don't know what the Google search result term is, but the chair looked kind of like this. And I had it open on my video showing how it had been unwrapped and topologized, and it was like so weird. And I'm like, I can't imagine someone sitting there placing all these vertices like this. But it was just like some stock model. So that answers that question too, I guess. And I don't know, like it's hard to, I don't want to make a jump. It's hard to say, but it did call into question how much of their work was actually their work and not just plagiarized from somewhere. I could, if I wanted, I could do a whole investigation and try and check, but I think that'd just be a waste of time at this point. I could try and cross-reference and check every asset, but I just don't care anymore. It's all gone anyway. It's all done. But yeah, so that was the fun little revelation I had after the video came out. So probably a 3D scan. Yeah, I mean, probably. Like that's the only, like I can't imagine someone manually topologizing something like that. So that's probably what it was. Velvet says, yeah, let me guess. It was a free asset. Yeah. So I mean, look, I don't think there's an inherent problem with using available resources. I do that all the time myself. I try not to start from scratch wherever possible. I don't have an issue with it in a vacuum. I think the issue I take is that when you're getting paid all this money to do it, there's an implicit expectation that you do a bit more than just what I could do myself for free. That's kind of like the implicit issue I take with that. So there isn't anything legally wrong or technically wrong. So I'm not gonna make like a huge deal out of it, but I think it's just the principle. It's the work ethic. I think that's what it communicates something about your work ethic. If you're the kind of person to just literally just download the free thing and like not modify it. That's the thing. Because with me, I was downloading it so that I could modify it and tool it into my spline tool, because the free template didn't do everything I needed it to. So my attitude was, I'll stand on the shoulders of giants and then take a step up from there. But I think the attitude of just sitting down on the shoulders of giants, that's sort of the equivalent when you just take it and like not modify it. That's where the whole asset flip spirit comes from. Because we've talked a little about asset flipping before, but I don't think there's not inherently anything wrong with asset flipping and using licensed assets. The issue is when you only do that and you don't put a spin on it. You don't put in any effort to make the free assets cohese with the whole. I think that's what people take more issue with, at least gamers, I think, from their point of view. I think a lot of gamers don't realize that most games are using licensed assets in the first place, but because the developers have put in the effort to cohese it and slot it into the rest of the game, it's not a problem. Like Super Mario 64 is all stock textures. It's an asset flip, but because it's well directed, it gets a pass, and that's how it should be. But yeah, the issue I take is when you just take free stuff and like not cohese it with the rest. That's the asset flip. That's the low quality asset flip mentality. That's what that is, I think. And yeah, it's a bit of an overused term, I agree. But I think when people say asset flip, what they mean is bad art direction. That's kind of what it actually means. And yeah, a lot of the chairs and assets as well, like in the materials, some of you might have seen with the level that it was all, the textures were just photographs from textures.com. That's another example of it not being cohesed. So with the new version of the lab that I posted, I know that it's not realistic. It doesn't look as dazzling and high fidelity, but that's on purpose, because I've technically also asset flipped it. And I could get Unreal open real quick to show you what I mean. We can end on this topic, but because yeah, I think we were talking last time. There's a difference between fidelity and quality, and the I'll get it open so you guys aren't looking at my ugly face. But the oh, come on, Unreal always takes a while to open. But yeah, so with my version of the lab, for those that maybe have missed the last stream, because I did have to remake it, but it was way more fun doing it myself. I had a lot of fun doing it. And the textures, I know that some people say it looks like a PS1 game, but I actually like it. I prefer it that way because it's on purpose. Like there's a certain charm to having something done on purpose, even if it is lower fidelity. Because if it's on purpose, it doesn't age as badly. Why isn't? Hold on, Unreal is not. I gotta give it a minute. I want to show you guys what I mean with that, and then I'll get going. But I just want to show you because it won't make sense if I'm just yapping about it. Sabo, thanks so much for the New Year's wishes. I am hoping it will be a very prosperous and productive New Year too. I hope it's for you as well, man. I think we could all use a bit of prosperity right now. But to tell you what I mean, I'll open the old lab. Because it's probably all of this doesn't make sense if I'm not showing it. Kids saying Ashes of Creation looks like PS1. I haven't heard of that game. I'll have a look. Ashes of Creation. That does not look like a PS1 game. Shut up. What? That looks like a AAA game. That looks like a modern game. Anyway, yeah, kids, these darn kids. Anyway, so this is the contractor's lab, and again, this is not meant to be like a humiliation ritual. This is just judging the work. But you see how I think I pointed this out last stream. You'll notice that the textures are extremely detailed. you see like you see how the floor has all these rivets on it, and there's all these stripes all over the walls. So the reason that it might look dazzling and impressive immediately, but the thing that if you're a mapper, if you're a Quake mapper, you'll know what you're looking at. Now that I've joined the ranks of Quake mappers, I get it as well. But for the uninitiated, these stripes are not meant to be used here. Because these are meant to be used for trims. These are trim sheet textures. Trim sheet textures are only meant to be used for decorative elements, like trims on the bottoms of walls and things like that. They're not meant to be used for entire walls, and they're not meant to be stretched like this. So there's a lot going on. If the untrained eye is just going to be impressed with how detailed it is, but a trained eye will see that this is just incohesive and slop. That's what a trained eye will see. And for me, that's important because, you know, you could just pass this and say, oh, it's good enough, mate, and just go ahead with it. But, you know, I want my players to have a better... I want them to have a better time than just, oh, well, I guess this is fine. Like, no, that sucks. I want them to play it and go, oh, yes. That's what I want them to feel. And they might be impressed immediately by the detail, but that's going to wear off. It's going to come out in the wash. And after a while, it's going to look weird. If you look at this for 100 hours like I've done, it's going to look weird. And that's because this is trim sheets and it's overlit. There's no key focal point. And by the way, because again, I don't know if this is all the correct terminology. I haven't been to university or anything. I'm not a trained artisan. I'm just intuiting what I think is going on. But someone told me that apparently this is like art, like fundamentals, which is, that's cool, I guess. I don't know art fundamentals, but you can just look at this and blow your eyes, and then nothing stands out in the frame. And if that's art fundamentals, then that's cool. That means I'm on the right track, I guess. But that's just intuitively, my brain just thinks there needs to be a focal point. If we compare this with my version, and again, I know it's lower fidelity, that's the point. And it's less shiny, that's fine. That's how I want it. In my version of it, it doesn't look as detailed and whatever, but everything is placed on purpose. The trim sheets are used properly. So you see how the stripes, they're only on the floor. They're not all over the walls and everything, going everywhere. If we go into these corridors, you can see that there is a system or a reason or a rule being applied where the textures are in a specific order. And that might not seem like it matters, but it does. And these are sort of like, it creates visual clarity. And it might mean, for visual clarity, it might mean that it's less shiny, or it might mean that the textures aren't 4K RTX ray traced metahuman. It might mean that, and that's fine. For me, the thing that matters is how well directed it is. And that's kind of that's sort of the end of last year. That was my focus, was figuring out how to actually art direct. And I know it's not the most impressive in the world. This is literally my first attempt. It's probably going to improve. But you can see that there's a bit more of a reasoning to where everything is. It isn't just random slapping on stretched textures everywhere. And you'll notice as well that none of the textures are stretched. They're all tiled. Doesn't seem like a big deal either, but I took a big issue with there being stretched textures in that video because I did bring that up to the contractor, and they said, oh, no one's going to notice, except he's wrong because I noticed it. And also, if you look at any game that like is doing well, if you look at the competitors, you look at what's dominating the market, you'll notice a pattern where none of them have stretched textures, and that it's not an accident. You know, because there are other indie games out there that probably have a similar thing to what I've got. And I've noticed they don't have stretched textures, and I'm thinking, well, if they don't have stretched textures, it means that they have deemed that having the textures be not stretched is important enough so that you never notice stretching. It means it's important. And if it turns out, if you do it the right way from the beginning, like what I've tried doing here with trench broom and old school 90s mapping techniques, it turns out if you do it that way, texture stretching becomes impossible anyway. Like it doesn't even become a worry because the software doesn't let you stretch the textures in the first place. So they're little giveaways on how it's being built. If you're seeing things that have stretched textures, it's a giveaway that this wasn't built properly. It was built haphazardly without a system or reason. And I think those things matter a lot in terms of giving the game like a timeless appeal, which I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that cares about timelessness, but I personally, it's a big deal to me. So I think paying attention to these things is important. But yeah, anyway, there's my little rant on on tile textures and trim sheets and everything. But the now, granted, you know, this could use some work as well. I've had people criticize the lighting on this, saying it looks too dim and Quake-like, which is true, because I'm just kind of getting, this is my first go. This is like my first attempt. What I'd like to try doing in future, whether it's this map or another map, is to try playing around with brighter textures and brighter lighting. Not overdoing it, but just because I know that this looks a bit more cryptic in theme, which I kind of like. I like the sort of the blue hue that the level has now, rather than the white clinical hue of the older version. But given that it's meant to be a genetics lab, maybe it could use with a bit of brightening. So I'm gonna try that stuff out. But at least I now know what I'm doing with level design stuff as far as like constructing it. So it makes iterating a bit easier. Because if I wanted to change that stuff, you could just go in, swap out, modify the textures, swap them out, and it'll be pretty. It's easy to make those iterations. But if I wanted to do the same thing to the old version, it's impossible. And the argument I've heard, and this is a funny one, you guys might find it amusing, because I can't do revisions to this because it's just too complicated. And you might say, oh, well, it should be so good that it doesn't need revisions. And if that's your attitude, then you're naive, because everything is going to need revisions. Everything always needs touching up, you know? So like this, for instance, if you want to change out textures, all of these are all using different materials. They all are stretched in UV differently. And there's also the fact that if you wanted to move walls or floors, you physically can't do it, because if I can't just move the whole floor because it's all done with tiles. Which we're not even gonna get it. I don't even know how that, anyway. we're not gonna, I think this is all grouped, but every other floor bit is not grouped. But with Trench Broom, that's not a problem. Everything is literally, it just works. So with that all in mind, because I was started getting into this topic like an hour ago, and I went completely off topic. But to give you an idea on what I want to achieve next with the game, because some of you are probably wondering, where is this all going to lead to? What's the point? For me, the goal I want to work towards, because we've got a map going, and the map has been built the way I want. And that clears up a lot of ambiguity about the rest of the game. Because now I have an idea on what I need to do to make the single player campaign. I'm calling it the single player campaign. It's just going to be the game's content. There isn't going to be another mode or anything. But just for the sake of like naming it, I'm calling it the single player campaign, because that's going to be like the story and all the levels. Because that's ultimately the thing standing in the way between being finished, is that there is no campaign. There is everything else. There's systems, there's scoring, there's mechanics, there's the movement, but there isn't content. And that's for the last 2 years, that's been like the main boss fight we've been fighting. Is because making content isn't good enough. You have to find the right way to make the content. And that's been the last few devlogs that you guys have seen has been my struggle, is what content to make. Do we make the Tony Hawk content type stuff where it's all like a skate park? Do we make linear levels where it's like a Sonic level? Like, what content do we do? What's the best fit for Gabi? Do we change Gabi to fit something else? It's all of those questions. Now, because that's been like the main ambiguity of all the last 5 devlogs. That ambiguity is now gone. Now I know what it has to be. Now the challenge is actually doing it. That's the next phase. So my current goals in the short term is having the demo reflect that direction. So at the moment we have this level. There is a few missing textures I got to fix up, and the lighting could be improved a bit. So this is about, I'd say, 80% there. Then there's, in terms of the demo being a demo, because there's still a few things standing in the way for that, And part of that is also on Gabi, because someone mentioned earlier it'll be cool when we get sound effects in, and I agree it will be, and that's going to be one of my priorities early in the year, is going to be working on that stuff. So in terms of my immediate tasks, my main focus for the immediate future is going to be on getting the devlog about Gabi's model produced, and for Gabi herself, doing the finishing touches with her effects, because there aren't any effects now except for the smear frames. So the thing I got to work out for Gabi is how to get particles and sound. I know how to get the sound effects implemented. I've already got slots for the sound effects and the particles to go through in the programming, so that when she does attack, it can play sounds and stuff. I just don't have the actual assets for it yet. So I have to make particle effects for like when she kicks, when she lands, when she jumps, her footsteps, and sound effects to correspond with those. So that's going to take, I don't know how long, but because I don't know anything about particles, so it's going to take a bit of time to learn how to do it. But I don't want it to be some over the top thing. I want it to be very simple. I know how I want the particles to look. I know exactly how I want them to look. I just don't know how to use like Niagara or Cascade. I don't know how to use the particle editor properly. So it's just going to be a matter of like figuring that out on how I get the particle system to make it look the way I want, and then implementing it. For sounds, I'm probably going to license stuff, and I've got a few exciting sources I want to try leveraging for sound effects. I'm trying to think what else. So that's Gabi. Then there's the devlog, and then after that is sort of, that's going to be like for this month is sort of on my agenda, and then after that it's like seeing if the level itself can be improved to look as best as it can. Part of it's probably going to be doing music, because I don't have any music written for this level, so I'm going to be trying out some mixing, trying out some techniques I've been learning to get some music made for the level. I think that'll probably bring it to life a lot, is having cool background music, because I find that even when I play AAA games, if I turn the music off, it feels like I'm playing it in the Unreal editor. So maybe a huge part of it could just be the music, because I know that audio is very important in the experience. So there's that will come a bit later though. My main focus right now is Gabi's particles and getting the video sort of sorted out. I was working on a bit of UI stuff last stream. I've decided to put that a bit further down the list for the moment, because I think the finishing touches on Gabi are a little more important, because those will be directly whenever I tweet about the game or show previews of it, which I'm going to have to do this year for sure. I think having her particles in place is going to be more important than whether the menu is finished, because I'm not going to be posting GIFs of the menu. Like, that's just, no one wants to see that. Everyone wants to see the gameplay. So my reason there is I got to make sure that just the gameplay stuff looks as finished as it can. And then, big picture, once the demo is sort of there, then it's going to be a challenge of getting the support needed to have that demo demonstrate what the game is going to like feel and play and handle like and feel like to play. And then it's just going to be a matter of like filling it with content. And there's probably going to be other unforeseen issues that come up, because there always are. Some of the ones I plan on coming up is going to be like saving. I don't have a save system yet. That's probably going to be a headache. But, you know, I have a rough idea on what kind of things will happen. And yeah, so that's sort of just most of the work I've been doing the last week and a half has been planning for all that and figuring out what I'm going to do, planning for contingencies. If something doesn't work, what will I do about it? And knowing what my focuses and priorities are going to be, which, you know, that's sort of the main what I've been up to. I want to see GIFs on the menu. Well, hey, okay, you know, if you want it that badly, maybe I'll do it. PK Trigger, welcome, first time chatter. As a person learning Blender and Unreal 5 at the same time, I have a massive respect for your effort. Thank you so much. Well, hey, I've been at this a little while. I've had a lot of time to learn. But thank you so much. What PC specs? I really got to write this down somewhere. they're not like top of the line. It's I think I'm running a Intel i7-7700. I think that's my CPU. It's like 4.2 gigahertz. I have no idea if that's like cool and trendy. I don't know if there's a new better CPU now. Probably is. GPU is a RTX 2070, and I have about 30 gigs of RAM. You don't need 30 gigs of RAM. I just need it for editing. So if you're just doing game dev, you don't need 32. You could probably get away with 16, but I have it for my video editing. I need a lot of RAM. Is that all? Is that PC specs? It's like RAM, GPU, CPU, and I'm using Windows 10 because I'm not upgrading. No, Microsoft can try all they might, but I'm never upgrading to Windows 11. Never happening. 2070. Yeah, that's the name of it, right? Let me search up if that's correct. GeForce RTX 2070. Yeah, that's a real card. Yeah, that's the one. Why? Is that bad? Oh, hey, Tim. Yeah, save states. Well, save states are annoying. The trick is, can you not use save states in the first place? That's kind of my mentality. The way I want to do saving is just literally saving records. Like, the game knows how many levels you've unlocked and it knows your best times. And that's it. I don't want it saving. I don't want it to be like Skyrim where it has to save the position of every potato you've knocked over. We're not doing. I know someone that tried doing that. Okay, actually, it was the contractor actually, because they've actually worked on projects before. I know it's hard to believe, but they tried making their own save system that was like Skyrim-esque for their thing, and knowing the work they did for me, it's probably a complete mess, but they were hyping it up a lot when they were working on their project. They were telling me about it a lot, saying, oh yeah, dude, we've got this sick save system where it saves the position of every can that you knock over, and it's like just like Skyrim. And yeah, maybe it is, but we're not doing that for Feline. We're staying the hell away from that kind of system. We're not doing that. They're on 4090s now, so it's a little outdated. Well, yeah, see, at the time when I bought it, it was like top of the line. It was amazing. You know, the card I had before wasn't even an RTX card. It was a GTX card. That's how ancient it is. But you know what? I think it's actually cool to have a potato graphics card. You know why? Because, I mean, gamers. Rise up for a second, gamers. How many of you, would you feel confident knowing if you had an issue with my game, it ran like the worst game ever, you had some issue with it, and if I tell you, if my response is, oh, well, it works on my RTX 2080, my RTX 40, whatever the latest model is, if I tell you that, oh, it works well on my machine with all the latest hardware, are you going to feel like any amount of confidence that it's done well? I don't think so. So I think it's kind of a good thing that I'm running on older hardware, and it's not that old. Okay, shut up. I don't think it's that old. This computer's only the last upgrade I did was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, which that isn't that long. Okay, to me, if it's 15 years, then you're getting a bit long. But 2 or 3 years is like nothing. But I don't know, it moves really fast nowadays. But I prefer coding it on my RTX 2070 because at least I'm reasonably confident that most gamers that have the hyper consumer attitude, that are always buying the latest thing, I'll at least know that at least a good chunk of them are going to have better hardware than me. And if that's the case, and if my game runs amazing on my computer, then I won't have to worry about the elite gamers that have better hardware than me, because it'll probably work even better for them. I think the issue, what you don't want, is when the developer has better hardware than everybody. I think that's when you get it's like, oh, well, it works on my machine, and they're running like a freaking NASA supercomputer, and they have no foot in reality on what the consumers are using. That to me is danger zone. So that's why I'm never going to be upgrading my computer until it physically stops working. I'm not buying a new GPU. I don't care. I'm not doing it. Because the thing is, Epic tries to when the Mega Grants program was still alive and well, Epic kept trying to do these raffles for join our Mega Grant raffle and win a new AMD Radeon CPU, and it's like I never did that because it's like my hardware should be good enough. Like I shouldn't need to have to like chase better hardware to like make a good game. If Ratchet and Clank 1 was made on a Windows 95 computer, then anything beyond that is a luxury, I think. As long as it works, I don't care. But you look at the Steam hardware survey. I totally forgot that was a thing. Why? What does it say? I'm curious. Does anyone have what do I type in to get this? I'll type it in on Google. Let's see if my assumptions are correct. Steam hardware survey. This is recent. Okay, this is amazing. Well, let's see if I'm right. Okay, damn it. Everyone's using Windows 11. No. Okay. Well, that's okay then. That's fine. Most people have 16 gigs. See, I was right. You don't need more than 16 gigs usually. Most people have like more VRAM than me. I have like 4 gigs, I think, on mine. Most people are... Okay, the difference here is that I'm running at a higher resolution than most people. I'm using I have like an ultra wide that I'm using, which is amazing. I love using ultra wides. But but hey, my game runs at like 140 FPS on my ultra wide with my old graphics card. So it should run totally fine at 1080p. It should be amazing at 1080p if that's what most people are running. Dude, where's the 800 by 1280 gang? Rise up. The 4x3 gang, rise up. Oh, that's such a small minority. We're gonna boost these numbers, guys. We need more 4x3 gamers in the hardware survey. Okay, then most people are still running Windows 10. I'm just having a look. Where's GPU? Is that going to show up here? It won't show up here, will it? Or maybe it will. Oh, PC video card usage. There we go. Let's have a look. Sorry, I minimized. Oh, YouTube chat is over on this tab. I'll have a look in a sec. Oh, yeah. So what's this? What do we got? 90% DX12. All video cards. What's the share? Okay, most people, the biggest group of people are using something better than me. So that's good. I don't think my card is even on this list, dude. It's crazy. What's the 2070? Okay. I'm not running the 2070 Super. I'm just running the... So there's like 0.9% of all Steam users have my level. Okay. Oh, dude, people are... This is the card I had before, the GTX 1080. Wow. There's even less people using that. Well, that's very interesting. 1% are using 1070 based. Hell yeah, brother. But yeah, I mean, when I started Feline, I was using a laptop with a GTX 980M, which at the time was pretty alright. I don't know if it's any good now, but the game ran fine on my GTX 980 mobile. So I still have that laptop, so that's going to be my test hardware. I'm going to run it on my old, like, I think it's like, I've had it 10 years now, I think. As of, 2025, I've had it 10 years now. So if it runs on my 10-year-old laptop, I think I should be okay. That's my reasoning. There's probably better ways to test it, though. I don't really know how to interpret the profiler on Unreal. I'm sure there's probably a way to do it. But I reckon my litmus test is if it runs on my 10-year-old laptop with a GTX 980, then it should be okay. Tim, you got the 1070. Hell yeah. Are you gonna go for the Steam Deck? Oh, I would like... Honestly, man, I was talking to my supporter chat about the Steam Deck recently. It actually looks pretty cool, because it only just came out in Australia. How does one... real quick, how does one go about making game files smaller? I don't know. It depends on the game file. Using smaller textures, I guess, but it depends on what game files you're referring to. Like compression, it depends. If it's like texture files, I guess just use like a smart, be deliberate about what format you're using and like make the textures as small as you can. I'm probably not the guy to ask about it. I haven't reached the arc of development yet where I'm worried about compressing everything. Someday though. Final product. Well, here's, okay. You mean like, how do I not have 200 gigs? Okay, here's how you do it. You don't make it live service and you don't add skins. You should be fine. I think if you're talking about games like Call of Duty, isn't the reason those games are so big, it's because they all have like 1,000 skins that are all 4K, and it's like, and they don't compress them at all. I'm pretty sure that's like, yeah, see, by default, I think Feline's game files, they're like 7 gigabytes or something, last I checked. When I, not the project files, but when I package it, it's like 7 to 10 gigabytes roughly. And a lot of that can probably get thrown in the bin, because that's all the old levels in there as well, with the PBR textures. So it's probably going to be even lower. If I try to package it again now with this new level, it'll probably be even smaller. It's just being very lean. That's what I think it is. There's probably more tricks. I don't know all the tricks, but my assumption, this is the assumption I'm basing it on, this is just my intuition. My intuition tells me is that if I keep doing the levels like this, where all these textures are like 512 by 512, and the meshes are all super low poly and bespoke, if it's all like using the least amount possible for the biggest result, then I think just naturally you're going to have a smaller file size. That's just my game theory. And again, I'm not an optimization expert, so I'm probably not the guy to ask. But I totally forgot to mention this last time, by the way. But for the textures, I showed you guys last stream that I was like using the WAD packaging tool, Wally, to repackage the textures to use in Trench Broom, and then I was going to replace them with the high quality substitutes in Unreal. I actually did do a bit of tweaking over the Christmas holidays to the textures to make them half the size. And now, the Epic gamers in chat might hear that and recoil and go, no, you can't make the textures low quality. But I bet none of you noticed when I opened up this level compared to last stream. I bet none of you noticed that the textures were reduced in size by half. I bet you not a single one of you noticed. Because of the tile size, I've made it just so that the texture size and the tile size is just so that at the normal camera distance you'd be looking at it. It's like visually anything higher than this will be imperceptible in most cases. Of course, if you took the camera and went like this, if you went like that, yeah, you would notice it. But if you're doing this in a game, you are lame, okay? If you're the guy that's going to be in here looking at it, going, oh, well, I see a few pixels. Like, if you're that guy, just go home. Like, you don't, yeah. Because what I'm doing by doing this, by making it halving, because I think they were at 4 or 2K before, and now they're like considerably smaller. They're like, I think they're 1024 or they're 512. I can't remember which. But yeah, they're 512. That's right. I think this is the size I set them at. So they're not even 1K. And because of that, I know it seems small, it's slightly less detailed, but it means that if I do all the environment textures at this size, it means that the game is going to be like way smaller. And you're not going to notice. So I think, I don't know, man. I know everyone loves their 4K textures, but I think this is cooler, like just personally. I think it's cooler that the game is not going to be like 100 gigabytes. That's my personal preference anyway. But I don't know, maybe for people that really want, maybe I could make a 200 gigabyte version and release that where every texture is like quantum sized, where they're all vectorized or something. I don't know, we could do, or every little detail is hand modeled in. Maybe we could make a version just for the Epic gamers, but I think for the moment, I'm gonna keep it to the 512. I mean, yeah, like how many of you even noticed I did that? How many of you actually even noticed I cut those in half? I bet none of you did. Well, yeah, if the game is stylized, why even use 4K? That's precisely my thinking. Flaming says, thank you so much for doing that. I hate when downloading a game uses most of my space. Well, look, this is just what I've been able to do now. we don't know, like, I don't know if this is still, like, if these principles will make it. I reasonably am assuming they will. I'm not going to guarantee the game will be like a megabyte, but I can at least, if my game theory is that if I keep doing it like this, the file size should be reasonable. That's what I believe. I could be wrong. There could be some other thing that comes up in the future where Unreal does a certain thing when you add a certain thing to it. If you want to use a certain plugin or whatever, maybe it then will do something that bloats the size. That's in the future, though. I don't know. But at least for the moment, I reasonably assume that it's gonna be smaller if I'm using less expensive assets with leaner sizes, less material. Because this is all one material, by the way, as well. I don't know if I mentioned. All of this is using one material. So that's going to also just make if the entire game can be made with one material or like 5 materials with different palette swaps or whatever, I think that'll also mean the game will be smaller as well, reasonably. And it'll just be more fun to work in. But hey, that's just a theory, a game theory. Rashads don't usually care for 4K assets. The texture should scale based on how close and focused the asset is. Yeah, I concur. So in a lot of these cases, because I know how far the camera is going to be from Gabi and all of that stuff and how big everything's going to be, and also just the tile size of the textures themselves, I made a calculated move to make them 512. And I think it looks fine. I think it... Like, if you do this, of course, you're going to notice, but, like, who cares? Like, the way I see it is, even, like, old games, like, you go back to the Dreamcast or something. I know that's a very extreme example, but I think those games still look beautiful, even though the textures are, like, 64 pixels, whatever. I think it still looks good. And that's, to me, it's the vision, it's the place where your imagination goes. That's, to me, it's more important than fidelity. That's the kind of thing I respect about books and like lower fidelity things, is that the less detail you put in, the more you leave to the imagination. Now, of course, you can abuse that logic and get away with just, you know, Minecraft textures or whatever. But even then, like, people like Minecraft, so maybe it's fine. But yeah, I want to very much try to lean more into, with the art direction of the game, into a more getting the impression and making you imagine. Like, that sense of wonder, you know, like when you played an old PS2 game, I don't know if you guys have also noticed this, but I've noticed this, where it's lower detail, yes, but there's something more mystical and otherworldly about the old games. And I think the reason that is because your imagination is superimposing on top of it, whether you know it or not. Your imagination, the game is giving you less so that your imagination can do more. And I think humans, especially young humans, especially children, which are like most, I think most gamers are like 30. I think that's what the demographics would say. But for a kid, that, like, to me, I think the biggest badge of honor to me is making a game that a kid would love. That to me is like a badge of honor. That you can capture the wonder and imagination of a child. I think that's like the highest badge of honor. And if you have a kid, kids want to imagine. They want to be doing that. Like, they don't want the game just filling in the blanks for them, because it's idle and vacant, and it's just they want to imagine. At least when I was a kid, that's what I wanted to do all the time. So my logic is, if I go a bit less hard on the fidelity, which is also cheaper to do, and it's a reduced file size, it gives the imagination more nourishment. And I think that's going to have an impact on the player. And just from my own experience as a gamer, that's what I feel. When I look at old, like, Sega Dreamcast games and old PS2 games, there's that sense of you're escaping the real world, and it's an actual escape. And I think the more detail you put into, like, the fidelity, it becomes more like the real world with how detailed it is, and it kind of goes against the point of it being an escape. But, you know, that's not always true, but I think when you focus too much, like when people in Spider-Man are complaining that his suit doesn't get wet when you go into the water, I think when you're getting to that level, you're kind of missing the forest for the trees. And it's instead of letting the game sweep you and take you somewhere, you're fixating on whether Spider-Man's, like, because that was a thing, wasn't it? I remember that happening when the Spider-Man 2 for the PS5. on Twitter, people were complaining that, oh, when he touches the puddle, his suit doesn't become specular. The reflections weren't 100% perfect, and it's just like, if you're looking at it that level, you're kind of you're stripping the fun out of it. Like, that's good. You know, like, if you're focusing on that, it's like it's the wrong, like, no. You shouldn't. You should be so distracted by how cool the game is to not have to worry about whether the reflections are accurate. But yeah. Anyway, I could rant for hours about all the realism, all that stuff. But yeah, the obsession with realism is stupid, says Spuds. I mean, I can respect it. I think the cool thing is when you get realism with good direction. That's kind of cool, but that kind of game comes on like once in a generation, I think. But I don't think it's common. I think most of the time, my issue is when people like lean on realism as a crutch for bad direction. And it's like, oh, I have no idea what colors I want. I have no idea what my style is. And my game is boring. But if I make it realistic, it'll work. I think that's what I take issue with, is when people use it as like a shortcut for art direction. And as a crutch, and like all of the effects that come with it, because then there's how to achieve realism as well. And I really respect the ways people used to achieve realism with like CryEngine 1 and that stuff, because if you go look at Crysis, the old Crysis games now, they hold up pretty good because they actually did it the hard way, and they had to fake all of these effects, doing it really clever, and it was so ahead of its time. It was amazing. But the way people like to do it now is they just want to turn on Lumen and just like not tune it and just leave the default settings on and just like, you know, chuck in a few marketplace things and say, oh, it's realism. But actually achieving realism properly, I think, is not, it's actually a lot harder than just turning on RTX. And I think we're seeing that with, there's been that huge thing happening lately where everyone is like outcrying against DLSS and TAA and all that stuff. There was some video that someone linked me. Some of you guys linked me this video about, forgot the guy's name, Threat Interactive, I think, talking about sort of like how modern graphics need to improve. And I think the big thing there is the performance. Everyone's complaining about the performance. But for me, the issue is that even if it did perform like at 60 FPS 4K, it still looks bad because it's not thoughtful. It's just people relying on Unreal Engine to do the lifting for them instead of exerting dominion over their own game. And it's like, that's why every game now looks like Unreal 5 default. I think that's what's going on. But the thing, it's not realism. That's not what it is. That's not the point. It's not that it's trying to be realistic. It's the fact that it's just trying to be realistic without putting in effort. That's sort of like where I draw the line. Because I think with CryEngine and the old stuff like Half-Life 2 and like Crysis 2 and all that stuff, that's realism, but it looks better because they exerted control to make it look that way. And it's actually art direction all underneath. It's just art direction that is directed towards realism. But yeah, there's a difference between that and just downloading Unreal 5. There's a huge difference, because if you just download it, you're not actually directing. You're just you're kit bashing. You're just bashing a few. We'll put on lens flares, call it a day. But the people that made the really good, realistic looking games, like Half-Life 2, people keep sending me screenshots of Half-Life 2, and it is gorgeous. I know that it is a 2004 game, and there's a few roughness around the edges, but even just if you blow your eyes and just look at the color choices and everything on like the main menu, it looks pretty realistic. And it's because like that was so carefully directed, and they could do all of that without TAA, RTX, Lumen, MetaHuman, all that stuff. They could do it all without that stuff. And I think that stuff stands the test of time, evident by the fact that Half-Life 2 came out, like, 20 years ago, and people are still talking about it. So, is there no TAA in your game? No TAA at all. I think I might have gone over this once before, but I have to make a devlog on this, actually. That'd be a good idea. Maybe if I get time, maybe I can film a quick devlog about this thing. But I actually did a huge graphics overhaul on Project Feline about 6 months ago, maybe a bit more ago, and I totally forgot to tell everyone that I did this. But I actually went into Project Feline but it might have been 6 to 8 months ago, I think. And I completely just de-unrealed the entire thing. So all of the default effects it does, the rendering and everything, I turned it all off. Gabi, so what you're looking at is very different from the default. I turned off vignetting, chromatic aberration. I turned off most of the bloom. There's still a bit of... I've got a custom bloom that I'm running, but the default bloom is gone. The TAA is gone. The motion blur is gone. Because that's the thing. By default, Unreal puts all of this... It turns it all on by default. That's why it looks terrible. Tone mapping and exposure, like all the camera effects where it changes the exposure level depending on how bright the scene is. That's gone. It's all gone. There's no auto exposure. There's no color correction. It's all gone. And I did that by... I had to go into the... Because the engine doesn't want you to do this. You can't just turn it off in the engine. You have to go into the ini files and specifically disable all of that stuff. So that's what I did. I turned it all off. And then I changed the renderer from deferred to forward. And for those who don't know what that means, deferred renderer is like the new fancy cool renderer that everyone likes now. That's like, that lets you do a lot of cool dynamic lighting and cool post-processing, like screen space, ambient occlusion, screen space reflections. That's all deferred rendering and it's cool, but I don't care personally. So what I did was that I turned it to forward rendering, which is it's older. It's what the old games use, and it has more limitations. You can't do screen space effects with it, and you can't have like more than 8 overlapping dynamic lights. But I'm doing all baked lighting anyway, so it doesn't matter. And it runs way better using forward. So I can't do as much post-processing, but my goal is I want to make it look so good without post-processing that I don't need post-processing. And the performance is also just better. Because I think in my case for my game, because I'm not trying to do like a realistic game, I think the performance benefit is worth the trade-off with effects. Because I think most of you playing this game are not going to care about screen space ambient occlusion. You will care, however, if the game runs 20% better. At least that's what I think. I could be totally wrong. Maybe you guys are the kind of people that want to have like screen space reflections, but I think they look ugly and I don't care, so I'm not doing it. But yeah, so this is all using forward rendering now. And I think the frame rate, because to give you an idea on how freaking great this was, when I was just running like my old test scenes with the default grid, it went from like 120 to 140 FPS just by changing the renderer. And that's great news because most of these advanced deferred rendering techniques I'm not even using. So I literally got just free performance with no downside, which is amazing. And then combine that with the fact that I've cut the texture resolution in half without you noticing. I think all of those things, I know that they seem minor and not like a huge deal, but I think all of it is going to combine to create like a better, more tailored experience that will just hold up better over time. That's my game theory. But yeah, so instead of TAA, I'm using the old school FXAA. And I know people hate FXAA, but that's my favorite AA personally, is FXAA. My second favorite is MSAA, which is like the multi-sample one. But in my case, I deliberately chose FXAA because I know that it's blurrier, but that's the point. I want it to be blurrier because if I turn it off, sorry, we've gone a little off topic and a little overtime today, but that's okay. I think I've totally forgot that I had this much to say. But if we zoom in a little, and we turn off anti-aliasing. So I've got it completely turned off. I don't know how easy it is for you guys to notice because I'm running this at like high resolution. But anti-aliasing in my game is important because Gabi's line art is really sharp. And if you play this on a high resolution display, it's fine. But if you play this at 480p, you'll notice a lot of, I don't know if can I turn down like the render resolution scale? I don't know if maybe this will work, I don't know. So yeah, if I turn off anti-aliasing and run this at 50%, maybe you guys can see it now, but the aliasing is very obvious now, right? Can I like zoom in? Maybe you guys can see it better. So I chose FXAA deliberately, even though it's like the cheapest one. I know that it's low quality, but I chose it because it gives you this sort of smooth look. And with actual anime, like 2000s anime, if you watch that stuff, I watched a bit of it. I've tried to watch more anime lately, but when you look at it, you guys know, like, I don't know if people did this, but when I was in high school, there was like only 1 or 2 animes I ever watched. It was Bakugan and Code Geass, or Death Note. I think it was one of those. And I watched Death Note. You'd watch it on these websites, totally legal, by the way. These totally legal websites that would have the fan dubs and everything. And you watch it, and it's usually like 480p, low quality as hell. And it's really blurry. And I reckon FXAA kind of gives you that look. And I thought, you know what, that'd be kind of funny, because then it gives you the authentic, hold on, show anti-aliasing. It gives you that authentic fan sub website watching Code Geass on this pirate website aesthetic. And I think it's kind of cool. So if I turn anti-aliasing on, you'll notice that you don't see the little pixel aliasing anymore, but it still looks, it looks a bit blurry. And I've got a bit of soft bloom on it as well, but that's deliberate. I want it to look that way because it looks like, if I was to pause it and frame it a certain way, you would think it's a drawing, which is important to me. You just need the terrible watermark in the corner. Yeah, I gotta have like the 1, 2, 3 movies in the corner, and I gotta have the subtitles in some obscure, not Comic Sans, but a similarly ugly font with the most wacky outline color. Usually something like purple or yellow or something like that. That's what I gotta have. I gotta have those as the subtitles. The soft bloom is a bit much. I agree. The reason the soft bloom is a bit much is because of this other problem I need to solve at some point, where you'll see what I mean. The reason the bloom looks a bit off is because of the resolution scale. It doesn't scale with the resolution. So if I turn the resolution scale to 22%, the bloom goes up. Because it's doing it on a pixel level. Like it offsets, it creates like samples of the scene and adds like a multiply to it. That's sort of how it works. This is the same kind of bloom that Arc System Works uses, by the way. And this is like the kind of bloom that animes. It's similar because in Clip Studio Paint, there's like a bloom effect that works the same way as this. This is what the studios use. The problem is with my implementation is that it does it per pixel. So it's like, oh, blur this by 2 pixels or 4 pixels. And if you run the game at 22%, 2 pixels is now a much bigger distance than at 100%. So if I run the game at 100%, the bloom is still there, but the radius is lower. But if I turn the resolution scale down and run it at 640p, the bloom radius is pixel level. So it relatively is taking up more radius. So I need to figure out a way to modify my bloom shader to scale with the resolution scale. That's the only issue. So I want it to be roughly like in the middle, where if I run it at 70%, the bloom, it's like just noticeable, but not like overwhelmingly. So like this level is what I want it at. When I run it at 100%, the bloom is not even really noticeable. But if I run it at 50% or lower, then it's like obvious and it looks smeary. So that's the trick. I got to figure out a way to do that still. But that's on the agenda for a bit later on. Like to see a hard shadow. You mean on like like on the character? That's gonna be something else. Maybe even this week I might be able to do that, because it doesn't. I don't think like a blob shadow. You mean? I don't think that's too complicated. So I might even be able to do that by next time. We'll see. But yeah, my main focus at the moment is going to be figuring out the particle effects audio and doing editing on the devlog all at the same time. You mentioned running at lower res than 1080p when majority are running at 1080p or higher. Are you planning to release this on mobile? No, I'm not going to do mobile. I'm not going to bother with mobile. But someone did ask about the Steam Deck earlier, and to continue, I totally forgot. I like half answered that question and forgot. But about the Steam Deck, because it just came out in Australia, and I barely know anything about it, and they are pretty expensive. So I will say, as a concept, the Steam Deck is freaking cool. But I have never used one. I probably won't be able to afford one for a bit. And it would be cool if I could get this to run. But this is not a promise. Don't take this as a promise. All I'm saying is that I really respect what Valve are doing with the Steam Deck. It's probably the only bit of console hardware news I've been excited about in the last 10 years. I think I'm really on board with their vision of. Because there was rumors that they're doing a console or something, like their own console hardware again, and because I actually had one of the Steam controllers at one point, and I think those are really cool, and I've heard that they're doing a new version of that. So I really like Valve's approach. I really like what they're doing, and I want to be kind of on board with that, not just with my words, but with my actions too. The only thing is that I have no technical knowledge with most of it. I don't know what the certification process is for the Steam Deck. I don't know the specs of the Steam Deck. I don't have any hardware to test it with. So I can't promise. All I can say is that if I do get the opportunity, I would want to do it because it does genuinely seem cool. And I would love to live in a future where we have the PC gaming has become as accessible as console gaming. I think that future is freaking awesome. Where it's all just the console wars are kind of over and we don't have this bickering over whether Xbox and PlayStation is better because all the games are just on the Steam Deck. That is a future I think is really cool. Whether I can actually support it with my actions, there's a bunch of I don't know the technical stuff. So this is not a promise that I will do it, but I am interested. And it looks freaking awesome. And I wish I had my hands on one of them because I feel like I can respect it from a distance and the visuals and the website and everything looks cool. But I feel like if I actually got to hold one, I would be even more on board. But I haven't had the opportunity to. Have I tried running this under Wine? I haven't, but other people have. And I'm guessing someone has probably asked or will ask in the next minute about Linux ports. I will say now that I did have an early build of this cross-compiled to Linux. Like this was years ago, by the way. I had like a very early build of Project Feline cross-compiled to Linux, but I was told by the people that played it, it wasn't a lot of people. That's the other thing to keep in mind, is that it's a small minority of people. But the people that did play it said that there was bugs with it that only existed on the Linux version. And because I don't run Linux personally, I have no idea how to fix them. And also, the Linux port under Wine ran better than the native Linux one, according to them. Now, I'm just going off of hearsay here because I can't verify this for myself because I respect Linux, but I have to rely on Windows for my software. So I don't have a familiarity with Linux. So I don't have confidence that I could make a genuinely good Linux native port because I know that even if I just hit I know that based on the logic that nothing is ever as simple as just hitting export. I know that that's true. So I think it's naive of me to think if I just hit export to Linux, it'll be good. I know that with operating systems, there's a lot of little nuances and little details and touches that make it a good experience. And I don't know what those are for Linux. I used to know what they were for Mac because I used to be a Mac user at one point, and I could tell the difference between a game that had been made by people that used Macs and people that didn't. And I know that there is that thing going on with Linux users where someone that is actually using, like, there's going to be a difference in quality between a game made by someone using Linux versus someone that has never used Linux like me. So I know that that is there, but I don't know what all the particulars are because I'm not a Linux guy. So I think what I will do insofar as Linux, my current plan is to just let Proton just take care of it. Let, the compatibility layer do it. It'll probably do a better job than I could. So that's my current, what I think, but I'm not an expert in this stuff. I just hear about it and I am vaguely aware of it. And I know that a lot of people say good things about Proton. So that's all I can say. Just dual install? Well, to do that, I'd have to reformat my computer, which is... I don't think I actually even have the available space to run two operating systems. But even if I did, even if I had Linux installed, there's maybe... I don't know if there's any Linux users in chat, but you'll probably get what I'm trying to explain. Because I don't know what they are, but there are markers or symptoms that indicate whether someone is familiar with Linux or not. And I think to get that familiarity, it takes more than just using it casually for a few days. These are the kinds of things that you would only notice if you used Linux daily all the time. And I don't use it all the time. I don't use it at all. So I know that there's going to be things that I miss if I try to do it native. There's going to be symptoms or details that I miss. The thing is, I can't use an example because I don't know what specifically they are, but I know that they exist. Just as with Windows. You know how in Windows, I'll give you a Windows example to explain what I mean. You know when you have a game in Windows and it uses exclusive full screen? It says exclusive full screen in the settings menu, but it actually isn't exclusive full screen. You know that? Because a lot of games now don't actually use old school exclusive full screen. It's some new thing now. And if I wasn't a Windows user, I would have no idea what you're talking about, and I would think I wouldn't know the difference between bordered full screen and exclusive full screen. I wouldn't know the difference. If I was a Mac user, I wouldn't know what that means. And even with exclusive full screen, there's different types. You know how sometimes with exclusive full screen, when you change the resolution on Windows, it'll change your desktop resolution as well, so that if you Alt-Tab out of... This is with older games, they'll do this. And then you Alt-Tab out of an older game, and you're running at a non-native resolution, your entire desktop will now be running at the game's resolution, and then it changes back when you close the game. Whereas other games, they will run in exclusive full screen, but when you Alt-Tab out, it doesn't, like, resize the entire OS. It, like, keeps your native resolution in the background. Little touches like that. I don't know what the Linux equivalent of that is, but those are the things that I notice in Windows. And I know that anyone that doesn't use Windows is not going to have any clue what I'm talking about. And they're not going to know those details. And they're going to be the kind of people, like if I was a Mac user, let's pretend that I'm doing this on a Mac and I'm compiling this for Windows, which is probably not even possible, but let's just, for the sake of argument, say it is. Let's say I'm a Mac user and I'm compiling Project Feline for Windows, and I make an option called exclusive full screen, but it actually is borderless full screen. Like, it's those little things, and someone will notice. It's not going to be most people, but a player will notice and go, why the hell is it called exclusive full screen when it isn't? And it's those little touches that make me not confident in doing a native Linux thing, because I don't know what the markers are or the symptoms are for a good Linux experience, because I don't know what little... I guess you call them idiosyncrasies. I don't know what they are for Linux. I just don't know. It's so foreign to me that I have no idea. I know what they are for Windows. I know that Windows, it's like you've got that's just windowed mode. There's also like gamma, what kind of gamma it uses. All this other stuff. Like, what's another example? Like, you know, like when you run a game in even just running it in windowed mode, and whether it has an icon in the taskbar or not, or even like those little touches, like those all kind of create the experience of like, oh, this was made for Windows, versus the key example when you notice when people don't pay attention is when you play like a game that was made for console ported to PC. That's kind of like, if you've played a game like that, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's like if you try to get like a console, like a PC port of like Psychonauts, for instance. This is where I started to notice that stuff, because I think Psychonauts was the first Psychonauts from like 2005. That was made for Xbox, but they have a Windows port on Steam. And when you play it, you can just tell immediately that it was not made for PC first. It was made for console first, because the resolutions are all hard-coded in. It doesn't scale naturally to your screen resolution. Like, there's a bunch of these old, like, tiny details that kind of make it feel like it isn't made for your thing. And as a gamer personally, I would rather the game exist on fewer places, but the places it does appear on, it feels like it is welcome and it is made for it, rather than you buy the game you on your thing and you play it and you can instantly tell right away that this was not made for whatever thing you're running it on. Like, that's what I'm trying to explain. If I tried to do native Linux, that's what it would feel like. You'd boot it up and you'd say, oh, this guy has not used Linux. He's using Windows and he's just cross-compiled it. And there's going to be a bunch of things off about it that I don't know that you'll notice. That's what I mean. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's those little idiosyncrasies. That's what I'm talking about. And yeah, Psychonauts is a banger game. Absolutely. I'm not knocking Psychonauts. It's just, you can tell that the Windows port it's not a native Windows port. You can tell. Same with like Halo 5. They tried porting that to Windows, and you can tell that it's this compromised version of people that haven't actually gamed on Windows, because there's no FOV slider. The mouse sensitivity options is so weird. There's no option to turn off raw input or anything. Like it's these little things that I guess I don't know if most people even care about, but I care about them. And if I'm going to be porting it to something else, I know that there's going to be people there that have that level of paying attention to their operating system, and I want to not disappoint those people. But because I'm only familiar with Windows, I want to just focus on Windows. That's sort of my attitude with it. Iris says Final Fantasy Remake showing a triangle button for an Xbox controller. Yeah, it's like that stuff, right? Now, I haven't played Final Fantasy, but that sounds exactly like what I'm talking about. Like you get it, right? It's or as Attributions says, The Last of Us Part 1 on PC, there were so many texture errors in that build. Like, yeah, it's that stuff. That's what I'm talking about. Because there's probably heaps of the only issue I am aware of with Linux when I try to cross-compile it, the only one I'm aware of is that on the Linux version, when I tried to do this in Linux, because I haven't changed the settings menu system at all since then. This is the same system. The rest of the game's changed, but this is the same. And when I tried to run the settings menu, whenever anyone would try to run the Linux native version of this with the settings, the resolution drop-down just did not work. And because I don't run Linux, and it works for me because I'm running it here and it works. But because I don't know how to use Linux and run Linux, I have no idea why it's not working on specifically Linux, because it works everywhere else except Linux. And it's those little things. And if you were to pay money for this game and you paid for like a Linux port, hypothetically, and you buy it and the resolution drop down is blank, are you going to be happy? Are you going to be a happy gamer? You can be a happy customer? I don't think so. I think you'd probably, if it were me, and if I was a hardcore Linuxer, that would be enough for me to leave a negative review saying this Linux port is trash, this guy doesn't care. That's what my reaction would be, my primal gamer instincts. That's what it would do. And that's probably, I don't even know if that's most people. Maybe it isn't, and maybe I'm dramatizing it, but I don't want to, because I care about it. And it's like, if I had the choice, I'd rather port to less places and do it well than try to go everywhere and do it badly. That's sort of my attitude with it. So that's kind of all I really have to say regarding Linux. I will say though, it doesn't mean that I hate Linux. I think Linux I respect the open attitude with it. I do feel like a prisoner to Windows often. My own computer is betraying me now, and I'm constantly getting full screen pop-ups telling me that I need to buy a new computer if I want to continue using Windows. That annoys the hell out of me, and I totally respect people that have the ability to use Linux. I think it's amazing. And as much as I'd love to do what I can for the Linux community, I feel more confident that the best move would be to just let Proton do what it wants with my Windows version, because I don't have I'm not intimate with Linux, and I think Proton will do better because it'll probably fix those little idiosyncrasies on its own. But yeah, huge respect for it. But because I'm trapped here, I can't. All of the software I use relies on Windows, so I don't have a choice. So that's just the situation. Okay, that's just how it is. Do I use Blender? Yes, I do. I do use Blender when I'm doing 3D. Every Win 11 updates need to check if I turned on that AI nonsense. Are you serious? Oh my god, that's crazy. Poisoned AI says Linux users are used to things not working. Well, hey, maybe that's good. Maybe it means that they are more forgiving than I think they are. But still, in a perfect world, it'd be nice if they didn't have to be that okay with things not working, if you know what I mean. Like, it makes me feel a bit sorry for them, It's like, oh, that's okay. They're used to everything breaking. And it's like, no, they should be used to it working. Like, wouldn't that be more amazing if they didn't have to? Because that's like, Is the standard so low, like that they're just used to everything breaking? I mean, if that's how it is, that's how it is, right? But if I wanted to make a move there, I'd want to do it in a way where they don't, if everything breaks, instead of just rolling their eyes and going, oh, just another day, I'd love it. It would be so good if it just worked and they didn't have that eye roll moment. And the impression is like, oh, wow, this works without me having to tinker. Man, this guy's one of us. He's a Linuxer. Like, that's the reaction I would want. But that's really hard to achieve. So that's the thing. So maybe they are forgiving and they're okay if it doesn't work 100%. Maybe if the resolution drop down doesn't work, maybe that's fine. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to punish them. Like, I don't want to give them more... It is what it is. Oh, of course it doesn't work. Like, I don't want to give them more of that. I want to give them something that's more delightful. But anyway, there's only so much you can do, right? I use Arch, by the way. We know. Okay, we know you use Arch. Pat on the head for you. If it works at all on Linux, it's great. Oh man. I mean, that's cool, but like... Unfortunately, that's why I can't use Linux, because for me to do my work, it has to do more than just run. It has to work well. Like, all of my editing software, my game engine, I can't afford that level of, oh, it works, at least it runs, and it's a janky, but it at least runs. Like, for me to get anything done, it has to be at a higher standard. And if that's the standard of Linux, then that's just the status quo. And I have hope that it will improve with time. But, I don't want to I don't necessarily, if I can help it, which maybe I can't help it, but if I can help it, I don't want it to be the case where it's just contributing more to it's one of those games that just works barely. I don't know. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? You're doing game dev on Arch? Wow, that's impressive. I tip my hat to you. Works on my machine. Yeah, because that's the thing, is that mine does work on my machine, but that's because I'm using Windows, and I'd rather just look out for Windows right now, because I know that most of the time it's probably going to work if we're all using Windows. And then Proton can, Valve seem to obviously care, because is Proton, is that a Valve thing? I don't know, but I know that Valve have investing heavily in it. I trust their Proton, or whoever it belongs to, I trust that they will take better care of my Windows port than I could do with trying to do the Linux port myself, because they obviously care a lot, they're investing a lot into it, and they have more resources. So that's sort of my logic with it. But anyway, I do have to get going though. I've yapped enough about talking about whatever we went over a bunch of topics. A lot of game dev stuff, but I don't know. Did you guys enjoy that chat? You guys enjoy talking? It seems like it, because a lot of you guys are still here. So there was for the agenda for next time that to pay attention to. So we want to do some kind of emote thing for the Discord. So join the Discord. Leave me your suggestions for how we can do some kind of community contest or something for how we can do that, because it would be really cool to have custom feline stickers, like Gabi emotes and stickers in the Discord. So join there, linked in the description. Leave me your suggestions on how we want to do that. I want to try and get that this month just done, because it'll be really fun. It'll be a cool, fun way to start the year. And then I will be in the background chipping away at things. I'm going to be working on video devlog content to keep that coming, and I'm going to be trying to I'm going to try and get a start on Gabi's effects. I'm probably going to struggle because I have no idea how to use the particle editor. So if next week it looks bad or barely finished, don't worry. I just got to learn it, but that's going to be what my focus is for the next week. But yeah, but thanks so much for joining me, guys. It was a pleasure to get to see you again for the new year. This year, man, it's going to be great. We're going to get in there. We're going to be making some games. And yeah, thanks so much, subs, supporters, patrons. I appreciate you. I will see you guys next week. Same time, same place, same bat channel, with some more feline progress goodness. So take care, guys. I will see you next time.